I'll aim this like right there. I'm gonna go grab like a beer or
Oh,
something
sure.
for this.
Absolutely.
I
Look, there's a
promise not to.
cat. That's
I
Anthony
promise not
Bean.
to get drunk during the broadcast.
All right, time for me to put this live too. Put Alpha Geek live too. Let's do that. Hopefully that'll work. And that worked. All right, and now it's time to do this. And that. And this. Oh, there's the kitty. And
Meow.
looks like we are live on Alpha Geek too. Rock on, yo!
It is hard to put on headphones with a
Right.
cat in your lap.
I know. Hi, Reese.
No, we
There
don't
she
need the
is.
gifts. The guests. They're
We
not
don't
there.
need the guest.
We don't need
Welcome,
them.
welcome to Crazy Cat People Think Tank.
I know. Crazy Cat People Think Tank is on live.
This is just the only reason why I play a druid. I mean, come on. It's
Let's
the
do
only
this
reason.
one. We are live. Twitch.tv/Tauren Think Tank. And tune in alphageekradio.com. There we go. Boom.
Hey, look,
Yeah.
she's finally showed her picture. Woo!
Oh, you
There
finally
she
see my
is.
picture?
Yeah, finally see your picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying like
Oh.
the delay right here too.
Yeah, we don't
It's
we
great.
don't see it on. Oh, there we go.
Yep, sorry. It's
Now
got
it's loading up.
Yeah, it had to go back into the spot there. There we go. You're going to see my camera. You're going to see the camera that is not on the stream. So you guys see.
So we get to make fun of that.
Yes. So you see the
Right.
side camera and the stream sees the front camera. All right. I got to mute my microphone and keep that up there so you don't hear double. There we go. Awesome. That worked.
It's like I'm just seeing instant replay with Marconin drinking his coffee again.
Yeah.
I know.
If you see something you like, just switch back to the stream and you'll see it twice.
You can see it all over the place. All right. We
Uh-huh.
got this.
And then on
retweet.
YouTube.
So much to retweet. All right, there we go. Now I got it. Hi, guys. Hi, chat room. We got Anthony Bean here. Look, it's here again. Yay. We got the first returning guest to Tauren Think
Mhm.
Tank. And-
Oh, I get to break the cherry.
You do. You absolutely do. And the best part about it is that we can see your video and you don't sound like you're all Skypey this time.
I know, right? That's because my router is literally about 5 feet away.
It's so much better. So much better than the last time.
Yeah,
Poor
I'm not in a
thing when you're on
hotel, I'm
hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that was terrible.
I know.
Absolutely terrible.
We are so I am got that stream live, got this stream live. I'm like I have all these things now to do. It's just more work for me, but it's awesome because there's more places people can listen.
Hey, it's important to keep yourself occupied.
I know. Well, I don't think I ever have that problem of not being occupied, and unfortunately, it's something. Last night, I wound up just saying I am not doing anything except sitting in front of the TV with my cats and a beer and a fireplace, and I'm good. And it was awesome. I sat and watched. I watched that I Know That Voice documentary on Netflix about voice actors. And
Did you see the new Zelda one that's coming?
I
Supposedly
saw
Netflix
that.
is gonna do a live action Zelda.
And
That'll
my
be neat.
husband Arcane was like, I didn't think the story was all that great to be a live action like thing. I don't know, so he wasn't too
Well-
pleased about it.
Like GameStop's video that they put out, or was it GameStop's or someone put out or maybe it was GameSpot, I don't know. Like back in early the 2000s, they put out a video showing kind of like a movie clip. I'll actually try to find it.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. I haven't
Yeah.
looked at it in years, though. I'd
April
forgotten about
April Fool's Day, they did it.
Oh,
Mhm.
weird.
It was
it. And it was awesome.
yeah. It looked great.
Now you're looking it up.
Of course I'm looking it up. I have two computers going at once here. Come on, of course I'm gonna
Yeah.
look this stuff up.
Multitasking.
How many computers?
I have two going at once right
Oh,
now.
okay. Well, that's fine. I have two going at once too. That's all right. That's acceptable.
I just have one, but I got the iPad.
Hey, you would belong well down here in the south where I'm at now.
That's where he is.
Yep. That's where I live now.
So how do you like living in the South? I know you're not much further south than Arkansas is, so I know you're about in the same parts of the neck of the woods that I am.
We got a little bit of Bubba Conan coming through there, just a touch.
Yeah, he's just always underneath the surface, but every once in a while he'll come up and speak for a minute.
Hi.
Oh, it deleted my link.
Hang on. Let me make you a mod, and you can put it in there. Hang on.
We had people being
Put some links in there.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Not
Now
nice
do it.
people.
I can just send it to you through Skype.
No, go ahead. I just modded you. You're good.
I just deleted it again. It said
No, it didn't.
no.
Yeah, it's up there now.
It's on. Yep.
Oh no! If you're gonna come here, you're gonna come here.
Aww. You're gonna have a kitty partner all night.
Yeah, she likes to get on the desk, and then if I give her any attention at all, she's like, no.
No.
Usually she just likes to sit and cuddle. She may do that in a minute.
But yeah, it was IGN that did it. I mean, it looked pretty good. It was 2009. I thought that was earlier than
Oh yeah,
that.
can you mod Nate? He switched names.
I got it. Nate,
Cool.
you should have it now. Lori, the main chat will always be on Twitch. Alpha Geek has its own IRC, which we aren't linked into. So our main chat will always be on Twitch. But if you're on the road, can't access Twitch for whatever reason, or you're not able to get to a computer, but you want to watch it on like a Roku or an Apple TV, you can on that's on Alpha Geek, which is tunein.alphageekradio.com. It's great for like if you're on the road and you just want to tune in on your phone. It's a
Just
mobile
Bluetooth
stream.
it to your. Yeah, as long as you've got a good data signal.
Yep.
You can stream the show live.
It's really cool. And so you don't have access to the chat room, but you can still hear the live stream, which is pretty neat. So yeah, I'm super excited to have this, and thank you to Alpha Geek for giving it to us. So yay! We're streaming live right now on all of those options. So
We are all over them internets.
It's gonna bring down the internet.
I know.
Yep.
Tauren Think Tank is taking down the internet. All right. So I'm going to sound check the sounders here. One sec here.
This podcast is a
Sound
part of
okay?
the Signals Media All-Star Network. For more
I can hear
information,
it.
Okay.
It's about the same volume.
Chat room, how's our balance? How's everybody sounding? Everybody sound good? Loud, too loud? Maybe all that stuff. And we'll wait 30 seconds for them to respond. I love Twitch's delay.
So, guys, my mic is now we're can't.
Oh, he's gonna
Today.
just screw with them.
If I could
Sorry.
punch you through the internet, I would.
I love you, Jules. You know, I'm just kidding.
I'll boost my mic a little bit here, Nate. How's that? Is that better? Nope, it's just you. All right, let me bring it back down because it is going to peak out if I don't leave it to this point here. So I'll go punch you through the internet, barcoded.
You can punch me through that screen. Be like Poltergeist or something. Just reach through.
Dude,
Oh, did you see the new trailer for
Yes!
that?
Not
I was going to
yet.
say that. Did you see it?
Holy crap! It has like all the old stuff in it, and then it has the new stuff, and you're like, holy shit! Oh my god, I can't do this.
I know. The old Poltergeist was definitely scary because I saw it as a kid and all that stuff, but they've enhanced so much on it, and that when the clown comes lunging at the kid like in a super fast, and I'm like, nope, nope,
I
my
heard.
way out of this one.
I have not seen it, and I've not seen the trailer for it either.
You've seen the original, right?
Mm-mm.
No, okay.
No, I grew up not watching any horror movies. The Grudge was the first movie I ever saw that was technically a horror movie.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was just not part of me growing up. My parents would not let me watch that stuff. I remember pointing at in the video store, pointing at the box art for Silence of the Lambs. I was like, "What is that? That looks interesting." My mom was like, "No, you're not gonna watch that." Sorry.
I don't like horror, so
All right.
it's not something
Uh-huh.
I'm after. It's like I don't like horror, but it's something.
Yeah.
There, I'm making sure nobody has tried to text me. Nope, we have not. All right, we're good. All right, we've sound checked. We've gotten everything set. All streams are live, so I think we're ready to go soon. Are you guys ready?
We're ready over here.
Yep, Kitty's ready. Tony's
Landfill's
ready.
sleeping.
Kitty's
Land's
sleeping over there. Chat room, are you guys ready? Because we're going to do a show.
Is everybody ready for podcasting?
Reese's going to be your scarf for the night.
Yes. It's the fluffy scarf.
It's a fluffy scarf. She's so cute.
She woke me up at 3 a.m. scratching and banging on the door. It's like, fine, I will, and I let her in, and she likes to sleep like right by my legs. So I just let her. I was like, fine, you can just sleep. And you be quiet. Let me go back to bed.
I want to sleep now. I want to sleep.
I want to go sleep.
All right, chat room's ready. We're ready. So I'm going to count it down, and then we will go. All right, find this. Got it. In 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to Tauren Think Tank, the World of Warcraft podcast for you, the World of Warcraft player.
Welcome to episode 133 of Tauren Think Tank. Today is Saturday, February 7th of 2015. My name is Jules, and I'm here again with not one, but two gentlemen. Tonight I'm joined with my lovely cat whisperer, Mark Honan.
Two male co-hosts. Evening, Jules.
How are you?
I'm good. It's not been a heavy week or anything. Nice, relaxing Saturday. Got a cat behind me, and I'm doing a show. So all green lights over here.
Life is good in the world of Mark Honan. And and our other host of the evening, our guest for the evening, is a returning one, our first returning guest for Tauren Think Tank, and we are happy to welcome him back. His name is Anthony Bean. Anthony is an adjunct professor of psychology at Navarro College in Texas, currently completing his PhD in clinical psychology with an emphasis in depth psychology and gaming behavior. He joined us last March on episode 92. And we're really happy to have him back again. It's Anthony Bean. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You're sitting there like giggling at me.
I am, because it's just so funny to hear someone say your credentials somewhere. It's just like, come on.
Oh,
well, you
stop.
are. You're like labeled now. You're like a professor now.
That's pretty much what they call me. They're like, Professor. I'm like, just call me Tony. Just call me Tony. It's perfectly fine.
Is it so? You seriously in classroom? It's like you don't care. You don't want them to call you Professor Bean?
So in the classroom, like I teach two courses this semester. It's general psych and psychology of adjustment. My general psych class, it's a lot of basic information I have to throw at them, which I try to make it as fun as possible. But general psych's only so fun; it's really boring. And so for that one, they're allowed to call me whatever they want as long as it's not derogatory. I really don't care. I don't ask them to raise their hands. They got to go to the bathroom. I can't tell you how many professors, I guess, still ask for them. Raise your hand before you want to go to the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
I need to know you need permission to pee.
Oh, man. How often do you get the Mr. Bean stuff?
Got it right away, and I just rolled with it. It's very common. The therapy clients do it.
Yeah, just walk in. Hello, I'm Mr. Bean.
Just want to walk in with a turkey on my head.
Oh, yeah.
Christmas episode.
First day of class is coming with the turkey. Whoa!
Now that would be a sight
man.
to see. You need to do that on your next semester start. He's like, no.
I like my employment.
Yes, you
Yeah.
do. Well, a lot has changed for you since the last time we saw you. Last time you were in California, and now you've moved to Texas. So what has changed for you in the last year? What are you up to now that you weren't doing back then?
So over the last year, a lot has definitely happened. I got married. My wife's a forensic psychologist in the other room, writing up some fun stuff.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We both have two different jobs over here now. I'm in my what they call a pre-doctoral internship. So I'm doing a lot of psychological assessment and therapy with all ages. And she does very similar stuff at her place, and next year would be considered my postdoc. All done with classwork. My dissertation, some people I know in the chat room have been able to been I just saw this. Yes, S Southard. You can call me Mr. Payne. Um, and so I've had the dissertation data, and I went and finally cleaned it all. But at the mid-January or so, dissertation proposals all been accepted. I've bought the new what is it? The new statistical software that I had to do. I have to do my dissertation latent class analysis. It's freaking crazy,
Wow.
crazy higher order mathematical crap.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty insane. And so I mean that's all done. Out of like the 7 steps of the dissertation, I'm already done the first 5.
Good for you.
So pretty much
Nice.
going for a record at my school of finishing the dissertation in a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you were collecting data for that when we met you last time. How much data did you actually? How many responses did you wind up getting?
So a total of about 36,000 people clicked on the link and brought them and at least started the survey on some level. And then out of those ones who at least went to the end of the personality portion, the first 44 questions, 20,560 something.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a great sample size.
That
though.
is a wonderful sample size.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the first ones out there, which will be great.
Oh man,
It's
I
just
can't wait to
peanut
see
butter
this
clean.
this work because I
Yeah.
I contributed to it. So
Yeah, I think most of the listeners did too.
I think
so.
they did.
It went viral. I think I got 138 countries that responded to it out of the 208
Wow.
that exist right now. Yeah. I mean, some of
That's
them are only
awesome.
like 1 or 2, but
Hey.
still something.
Mhm.
So the last time we had Anthony on the show, he is a WoW player, and since then he joined the Convert to Raid Guild and was playing with us in Warlords. Haven't been playing as much as we were talking about in before we went live tonight. But Anthony is a huge WoW player, understands our world, understands our language, so this will be really powerful for us tonight. We've got some really good stuff to talk about. I did want to ask you, you have an emphasis in depth psychology. What does that mean?
So, depth psychology is kind of where our psychology beginnings came from, more of a Freudian, Jungian focus.
Okay.
But I do objects relations, and I kind of so every psychologist kind of orients themselves to a dependent theory, and some of us can choose to use all of us, and we can all use all the theories if we choose to. Um, I'm well versed in about 6 or 7 different theories, but my main way that I see the world through my client's eyes is through a objects relations and Jungian focus
Okay.
with a like psychoanalytic emphasis.
Okay. And for the person who has no idea who that means.
It's pretty much a combination of 3 main theories. So Jungian is more of a holistic, internal dialogue, unconscious, personal unconscious, collective unconscious, shadow, archetypes. Objects relations is the internal objects that we hold for ourselves, for other people, how they come out, and we have certain expectations for these objects, and when they don't meet them, it creates an incongruence with the object. It's coming in and causes a lot of chaos. And then psychoanalytic is a little bit more working with the personality versus a behavioral component, more
Okay.
working with what's coming out personality wise.
Okay. So we'll be probably digging into all of that stuff as we go through tonight because we have a lot of different topics to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
First thing we like to do before we get the show started is talk about what we've been up to this week and what's changed in the last 7 days or so. Mark Honan, what have you been up to this week in WoW and life?
Well, I've got another notch on the mount collecting belt. I think it was the last show or the 2 shows ago. I talked about joining a pre-made group to get the great tusk.
Yes.
Or great cuss mount. Anyway, I got the modeled Meadow Stomper, which is the Elec version of the same way. I joined a pre-made group. They were like, "Hey, we found him. Why don't you come and help us kill him?" And everybody, there's like 10 or 20 people got in the group. We're just sitting there next to it. I think Luke Hawk is his name.
Okay.
And And so in Nagran, and we just everybody tagged him, killed him. Everybody got their mount. So I
Nice.
am 9 away from the Fellfire Hawk, the 250 mount achievement one. I have more, but they only count so many of them towards the achievement. They don't count my horde ones. So
Yep.
you got to do what you got to do.
That's
But
right.
that was pretty much the highlight of my week. Although earlier today, it was really nice. It was almost 70 degrees, and I was on the back porch and just kind of relaxed. So, but as far as WoW goes, that's all that I had for this week. Oh, there was this thing on Monday night, was it? I think something immolation of feline. What was
So
what about
someone's
Cat
turning
on
red
Fire?
right here.
What about
Cat
what-
on fire?
Yeah, what about Cat on Fire there, Jules? Can you tell me a thing or three that might have happened on Cat on Fire this week?
Yes, Cat on Fire is our raid team, and we raid every Monday night. And Cat on Fire was focused on one goal. We had one goal on Monday night, and that was to go 7 of 7 in normal, and we did it. So yay.
Imperator Margok is dead.
Yes, the Imperator is dead. We are 7 of 7 normal. Right before we've got Blackrock Foundry coming out, and so we've been now talking as a team to decide what we want to do. Sounds like we are just going to just go barreling right into Blackrock Foundry and start dealing with that stuff. So we're excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a great night. I was like, guys, we are getting this. I don't care. And so it didn't matter.
She was.
I was determined. I was determined that we would do this. And even if it meant that we had to bring in some of our ringer friends and the ringers of our people who had like mythically geared alts that had already raided for the week, and they still came in on Monday to help us kill it. So that was awesome. So that was my big thing for the week, was going 7 of 7 normal. And it's funny because I think about the changes in rating have made it so that you can bring in your friends, you can change around, and people who've rated already this week can still come in and get the kill, and it help you get the kill, and it doesn't hurt them, and it doesn't hurt us. And but when I say normal, I'm like, the normal tier level, I'm like, oh, that's really maybe not the best. But for us rating one night a week, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So we're like, I went from being like at the previous tier being a heroic raider, top tier level raider. And sometimes I still have that mental disconnect where I'm like, are we not pushing? No, we are pushing ourselves because these fights are so different than they used to be. It's not easy sauce.
Some would say you're not living up to your internal image.
Possibly.
Ooh.
Possibly. But
And so it begins.
It's funny though when you say that. That's a really good point, because what happened with me is that I wound up pushing and pushing and pushing to try to raid at the highest level, and had to make some pretty significant sacrifices along the way, and it took its toll. Within about 5 months, I was like, I can't physically and emotionally do this anymore. There's other things I want to do with my time, with my life, and so it was like I just had to make the mental picture had to change. It had to be like, do I want to be on the cutting edge, or do I want to have a life that involves more than just raiding 3 nights a week for 12 hours a week, because that's what it was. So it's an interesting, it changes a lot, but with the changes in rating, I'm not sure that everybody has adjusted their mindsets completely on the difficulties of the tiers. And so I sit here and go 7 of 7 normal is awesome for us as a team, but I wish it was 7 of 7 heroic. Awesome, great, but it's not going to be in the cards. So yeah, it's just a matter of perspective.
We can always go back.
I know we can always go back.
Get a little bit of Blackrock gear, then Martok on heroic. We can start taking a look at that.
I know. So, but we'll see. I mean, this team by far awesome. Just a really awesome experience for me every Monday. I'm so happy to do it. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this week. Tony, you haven't been playing much of World of Warcraft, but anything that has come up in the gaming world for you this week that you wanted to chat about in your world?
I would say, actually, this past week, I finally broke down and bought Borderlands for the Xbox 360.
Oh, very cool.
There you go.
Which has been turning out to be very, very entertaining.
That game is really funny.
That game is hilarious, especially when you're the hunter and you just go pure sniper. You can snipe people from forever away,
Yes.
and they just look at you because you're too far away to like aggro them. It's great. It's so funny.
You feel like power play. I've played a little bit of Borderlands 2, and that game makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, it's just one of those games that's been pretty much a lot of fun, and I have the Mass Effect trilogy. It's on Amazon for $30, brand new. So I was like done.
Not
So
bad at all.
yeah, so I went and picked that up, and I'm gonna beat Borderlands 1 first, and then go into Mass Effect for a little bit.
Yeah,
But I mean,
I
I
can't
think
wait to hear your thoughts on Mass Effect. That's one of my favorite game trilogies of all time.
I, what was the game that came out? Deus Ex.
Yep.
That game was insanely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to like slam that back to like easy so that I don't get caught up in the whole like, firing guns and that kind of thing because I really want to see the story, but I keep screwing it up because I can't shoot. So I am not a shooter. I'm not really good at that. So, but I've heard Deus Ex is awesome. So that just kind of, yeah.
You can put people to sleep in that game. I went through the entire game without killing anyone my first time, and let me tell you, that's the hardest thing to do.
Really?
Because killing someone with grenades counts against it. I had to reset like a couple areas multiple times.
Oh, wow.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Were you
took me,
going
like,
for an achievement?
Yeah, it's an achievement. It's no kill throughout the entire game. You put it except for the bosses. You're allowed to kill the bosses,
Okay.
but you put everyone to sleep. All the guys and everything. You have like a little dart gun and you shoot it at them, and you're aiming for the head because if it hits their leg, they just get woozy and you have to shoot them like 3 or 4 times. But headshot, one shot, they're down. But the problem is if they have like one of their buddies around them, the buddy will come over and shake them and wake them up. And I'm like, oh come on, dude, because you got to be really quick with the trigger and shoot that guy next.
Oh,
It's
that's
really
cool.
fun.
And
Yeah.
see now that sounds like something I might want to actually do.
Yeah.
That-
Ugh,
yeah.
now you're gonna make me play another game. I'm trying to play Dragon Age Inquisition, and I just haven't had the time to play it. But I'd like to play that game before I pick up anything else. And of course, I spent 2 hours today playing Game of Thrones, the second episode of Game of Thrones on Telltale, which is awesome too. So it's like I'm so distracted. Too much gaming to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of games out there. I think one of the most interesting things I think that's coming out there is there's the slight push up how people don't want other people to pre-order games anymore because it's considering the game's not complete.
Yeah. I've heard that
And
argument.
yeah, it's gaining. I wouldn't say pure momentum, but it's reaching a certain volume where more people are taking notice of it, which is interesting. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, especially when I've heard somebody say that they make the game, but then they take out sections of it and just get and reserve that for only people who pre-order, just so that they can get the pre-orders in, and so they got your money already, and
Right.
then they end up releasing it to everybody anyway. So it's not it's nothing. You don't feel special about it anymore.
Right.
There's no reason to do it. I mean, I pre-order, because I get the collector's editions and I want that physical copy, but.
Yeah, I
if
can
it's
see
just
them in the background right there.
Yeah, if it's just a console, I'm not much of a console gamer these days. But if I bought them, I would probably just buy them when they came out. Just waited because we don't have to worry about limited supply that much anymore. Big box retailers shove out like 50, 60 copies on new release Tuesdays, so you don't really have that same drive anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I started recollecting the retro games, which has been proving to be more of an interesting thing overall. Like I have Secret of Mana again. I have Secret of Mana 2, which I've never played before, which I'm excited about. So I mean, we'll see where that kind of takes me. But I've been slowly collecting little pits here. I have Kirby for the NES. I was like, yes. Eat stuff and blow fire everywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're going to drop into our discussion topic of the night. But first, I'm going to play a little sounder that sounds like this.
Let's kick around some ideas, not gnomes.
Where do you even get these things? Are you just like becoming more technology based over there now? You're like, oh, what can I do here?
You know what? I have a ringer, and his name is Mark Honan. He made that for me.
Eh.
He made this is the thing. You know, I'm a very very lucky lady. I have the opportunities to have somebody who can do this audio stuff, and the voiceover is my husband Arcane, and so the gnome was all the sound effects done by Marconin. So I'm a lucky girl.
Very, very well
Yeah.
done.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's more too. You'll get to hear more of them throughout the night. So tonight's discussion topic starts out with something that Anthony gave us, and I think this is awesome. And it's really something that will resonate quite well with all of our audience members because we are all gamers and we enjoy our video games for different reasons. And the discussion topic of this evening, what are some emotional experiences you have found from playing a certain video game or genre? And we can be specific about that. Maybe you're surprised about what it evoked within you, and what was it from? So I loved this question. I thought this was amazing, and I think we can kind of dig into some of the psychology behind it as well. I think about the times that we started video gaming. You know, back for me, it was the Atari 2600 as a kid, and playing things like Asteroids and Space Invaders, and the Pac-Man stuff. And you're just like, oh, this is just fun, and it generates excitement and competition because you want to best your high scores. And then there was that time when video games took the shift from being the competitive to being the story. And so I'm really curious to know from the two of you to start out with what video games have resonated with you to that emotional level. So we can start with either one of you. Let's start whoever wants to go.
I'm going to have to think for a second about this one.
Well, Tony, you wrote this question, so you probably have a couple.
So for me, the game for me is just Zelda. There's just something about it. I've played every Zelda game that's ever been created, except for the new Hyrule Warriors one. That's the only one I have not played. Every game, whether it's someone created it and it's like a hidden gem in the dark area of like someone will create a game and then sell it like that for $10 somewhere, I've played it. I just love the idea of it, and for me, it's a very huge archetypal experience. And by archetypal, what I mean is like a very spiritual, energetic position that I feel that I'm a part of within it. So the ones that I've kind of identified just personally through playing the game has been more of the hero, the goddess, and the villain.
Okay.
Of playing Zelda, and I just love that trilogy thought. It's just really great, and then the puzzles, and that's like kind of like a Tinker type thing. I just love it.
Yep. And I mean, I've never played a Zelda game in my life, mainly just because during that time period is when I didn't play video games when I was a kid. We had the Atari, we had the Commodore 64, and then my friends had the Nintendos. But I never got one. My parents never got us one, and we never got it. And I just there was like this blank space. And so Zelda was one of those things that I never got to experience as a kid. And it kind of makes me sad because I don't have any of those references to go with. But I know that it means a lot to a lot of people, and it's just something that just brings back the nostalgia as well.
Oh, hugely.
Yeah.
Hugely.
Mark Honan, what was the first one that you thought of?
Well, the first one that I thought of is pretty recent because growing up, I didn't play. I actually have never played a Zelda game before. I know it's I'm kind of lacking a big portion of gaming history by not, but it just was. I was more of a Mario person. Just pick up, hack and kill the blocks, kill the turtles, everything. All the way through until like the first really big story-driven game that I played, at least that I can remember, is Infamous for PlayStation 3.
Okay.
And it's and the whole time through the game, I'm picking the light side because you can influence your character by doing the right thing. You're doing the good versus the evil thing. And that influences your character, his personality. He'll start developing scars and start getting an attitude with people, or just he starts glowing blue or red. And it got to the point in the story where I had to pick between my love and about a dozen innocent people. Who gets to die?
Yeah.
And it was the one time I chose something evil because I was selfish, and I picked her. And when you picked her, sorry, this is a spoiler, you get to her. She's got like a cloth over her head. You get to her, it's not her. She's over with all the innocent people, and she dies.
Oh God.
I had to put the controller down. I had to put the controller down for a while. I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh
that
wow.
one moment of not being selfless, of non-selflessness gets your love interest killed.
Yes. Oh my
And
gosh.
and I was like, why? I was so, on multiple levels I was upset because I was invested in this character because I like Cole. I like shooting lightning out of my hands. That's why Raiden was my favorite Mortal Kombat character. So I love the action part. And I was so invested in it. Plus, it tarnished my record of being the good guy, of being the one who always did the right thing,
Mhm.
who chose others over himself. And that goes into the second game that I thought of, which was the battle for Shatrath in
Oh
Warlords of
yes.
Draenor, when
Yes.
Murad sacrifices himself to save Uriel. And I've talked about that before. And that impacted me because I really liked Murad. I loved his character. The the short on YouTube of him, the Lord of War about him. I watched it the other day, and it still affected me just like it did the first time I saw it. And when I saw the light go out of his eyes in game, and that affected me.
Yeah.
So those were the two times that I can really think of. Other than that, it's like, okay, I played DDR for like a decade, and there's not really much story in DDR. It's just my first AAA of getting all perfect steps. That was an awesome feeling, but that's because I'd like accomplished a great feat,
Yeah.
within the game. So, but yeah, those two got me.
So
I'll give you a fun little thing. In my undergrad, I actually created a DDR club at my college.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, for 3 years, we got the college to pay for a PS2,
Oh
the
man.
really nice like $110 pads at the time,
Hmm.
and we met weekly. We had a group of like 53 people that just came, and we ended
Oh
up having to
wow.
get like 3 or 4 different rooms and just had different things set up.
wow.
It was insane.
Man, those were the days.
Yeah.
Oh, those were the days. We had an arcade where I went to college, and I ended up working at both of them because I was there all the time, and everybody would just go. Like I lost so much weight one semester because I wasn't eating. I was using all my food money to shove into the arcade machine. So it was,
It's like double. You're
yeah,
not eating
yeah,
and you're working out.
exactly.
That is awesome. Tony, I wanted to ask you about those games like Marconin talked about with Infamous. Um, the shift now has become more into the morality choices in game that affect you emotionally. I love that Marconin is dealing with Reese's tail in his face.
He's like right in the camera too.
He's just
It's
got like a little
awesome.
extra mustache there
I
going
do.
on.
Finally grow
Cattail
one.
camera. So when we're talking about games, video games, and the morality choices that we're making, I mean, I feel like so when I went downstairs tonight before the show, my husband was downstairs playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and that game I'm literally watching this and going, I could never play this because you're basically required to commit crimes, kill people, run them down with a stolen car, and this is supposed to be entertainment. And I was like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, you just hit and killed 7 people as you were on the way with this car chase, and he's like, yeah, well, it's what you're supposed to do.
It's
Yeah.
the mission.
It
The American
is.
dream.
But so I'm curious to know like the thoughts behind these, video games environments of morality choices and what it does to our mentality.
It's interesting. There has been a little bit of research out there, and it's some of the better research, not like the Anderson and Bushman saying, "Oh, playing video games is just going to cause you to be violent." A lot of the research that I've seen kind of shows that the first time we play a game, um, we're going to choose choices primarily based on our own idea of who we are and ourselves. So in a sense, we're projecting ourselves onto our character so hard that if we personally were standing in there, such as with like virtual reality, we would be making these same choices.
Right.
Hmm.
So The second time you play through, you do the complete opposite.
Yes.
You do everything you wouldn't do just to see what it would be like. So
Mm-hmm.
there's some cool little theories out there that say we do things because we want to. We do things differently because we want to experience it in a virtual world where it's harmless, or we work on these types of things just because we want to.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
makes sense.
it just I think it's interesting that more of the games are going towards those choices.
Yes.
Um, I think that's really where the interesting part comes in because we didn't have these types of games. It was more of a linear style of play.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it kind of started going that way. The first one I can think of, and there might be one sooner, is Fable.
Yes.
And I mean, that's when it started, giving the gamer choices instead of having to play the storyline through.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's kind of like one of those interesting things that AAA has kind of picked up on a little bit of the gamer wants, but it's almost like we're getting oversaturated with them now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can agree with that. You know, there's definitely the constant having to make choices in the games, that kind of thing. And then now it seems like it's been linear. Like it's been linear choice. Like you've got to progress from this quest to this quest to this quest. You make your choices along the way, and then you're done. And now it's shifting to the choice-based system in an open world concept, which is even more overwhelming. To me, at least, I have a problem with the open world concept and having to make all of these decisions. I almost feel like it's too much for me in
Mm-hmm.
certain ways. And so Dragon Age Inquisition is going to be my first foray into that kind of open world concept where I can just kind of explore and do that. But you saw that even with WoW this time around with Warlords, even though the quest lines had certain points where you had to complete all 4 of these in order to complete the zone, you could get there in your own way. You didn't have to go to the breadcrumb, to the breadcrumb, to the next one, to the next one, and you could make those choices a little bit more. But I don't think that WoW can really give you that morality choice line as much unless you're choosing to play Alliance or choosing to play Horde. Do you think that that's true?
I I would agree with you. I would say if they were going to include like a part of a choice making in the game, they would literally have to create a light side and a dark side because the light side would be more powerful against the dark side, but vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we would have a dark paladin and a light paladin, one who's like an arbor for the power for the light, and then we have one who's like Sauron type style, kind of going that way,
Oh,
which would be really interesting to watch them do it because then they would actually have to create different talent trees. Or I really hope they just wouldn't do something with like, oh, if you're bad, you get a bonus to this, because then people are just going to go there for the bonuses like they've done with the last 3 expansions.
Right.
People just
mm-hmm.
do things for bonuses now, which kills the game. I would say it's possible, but I highly doubt Blizzard's going to even go there. They're putting more energy into Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm, which
Yeah.
is very similar. If anyone's in the beta at this point, very similar to the what is it? League of
It's
Legends.
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
very similar to League of Legends. It's like the lighter version of it.
Yeah, the games don't last more than 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. You can't make them last longer. They're very quick.
Yeah, yeah. So there's those kinds of games like the PvP style games or the the opponent based games like the Hearthstone style. But I tend to be drawn to the RPG genre. That's
Mhm.
where I go.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the storytelling. That's the choices. That's all of that. Mass Effect, the series, was the biggest one for me that kind of just made it. This is the genre that I stick with. This is the first video game that actually generated some absolutely true emotional reaction from me. Like it caused me to cry. It caused me to get mad. It caused me to get happy. Like really super hyper feeling. When you got to the third one, they just knew how to take your emotions and just go and just rip them out of you. The opening scenario in Mass Effect 3, not to spoil anything, but basically Earth is falling apart. the world is falling apart, and the music that they put with it, and the look of it, and it's just, oh my god. The first 15 minutes of that game I was in tears because it was so powerful. And so it thinks, I feel like the games really become more like of a movie experience that I actually get to control. I get to be a part of it, I get to experience it. But I don't think a lot of folks that don't play video games understand how powerful those experiences can be for people.
I would completely agree, and I think that's why we see a lot of that addiction quality stuff comes out. Like, oh my gosh, you're playing this game for 4 hours a day every day. Why are you playing that? There's real life out here. I mean, come on, what are you doing? Instead of asking the question, what is the game giving them that maybe they don't necessarily have in real life? Or what's the emotional experience being within that's coming within? I can't tell you, I've worked with gamers for the last year and a half. And even still now, they push all the people who play video games towards me in my internship. I have like 6 students that are playing video games, and we talk about why do they choose that style of character? Why do they choose to be a hunter? What's the bonus for them for being a distance? And how do we take that entire concept and overlay it into their life to show some similarities between the choice of character that we play as and maybe kind of what we're missing a little bit in our life. It's exactly what you say. It's a story you can control, therefore it should be viewed as a story to be read rather than something else.
That's a very good point when you're bringing up why the way you prefer your characters and overlay it into your life. Because for me, I love playing a mage mostly because I like to sit back and watch the fight. I definitely don't want to be a healer because I don't want to have, because you do or die based on healers for the most part. They're the most crucial part, and I don't want that kind of responsibility. And I feel the same way in real life. I have a hard time dealing with really important decisions and moving things around. I just want to sit back and let it happen. So yeah, that really clicked with me when you said that.
Yeah, and and I'm the healer. I've always played a healer. I don't know what to do if I'm not doing that, and because I don't know how to play DPS or tanking. But I like the responsibility of having people's health in my hands, and if the success of the fight is based on me doing my job perfectly, or at least very well, then I'm all over that. And it is a very strong reflection of who I am outside of the game. It's just, because I'm always doing stuff to help people. I'm always working and building and coordinating and doing things with people. And so it's funny that I think we've all kind of known that that's the case for most of us, that we have a draw to a certain type of character style. But I don't know if I spend a lot of time thinking about how it extends to my outside life. And Tony, do you see that correlation happening with the gamers that you're talking to, that they can see those connections?
When we talk, so usually it's not really a method to the madness. It's just we spend some time talking about what games draw them, why do they draw them. There's usually a specific genre that draws the people that come in. So I have people play RPGs, I have people play first-person shooters, warrior archetypes, that type of stuff. What are they trying to fight? What are they trying to do? And then we take that type of ideas. Usually, if it's between 1 and 3 sessions, usually it's right around there, and then we ask what's going on in your life that you feel like you need to get this type of energy, this archetypal instinctual energy out of you. And so for me, I prefer healers. I've been a healer since Burning Crusade. I started off as a mage. I enjoyed it. It was all right. I went to healer, and I just fell in love with it. I just love the challenge of it personally. So for me, it resonates well with me because I love keeping the group alive. To me, it's let's keep going. Let's push us to our best ability. Let's take on more challenges, and let's see if I can keep you guys going. It's like the healer it's not it's never the tank that drives the group. If the tank tries to drive the group, it falls apart. If
Right.
the DPS tries to drive the group, it falls apart. It's solely dependent upon the healers, I feel, because it depends on what their skill level is, what they can do, and what they feel comfortable with. And that's where you get the people who can blaze through dungeons at those gold medal levels. You get the people who can blast through normal very quickly, people in mythic gear already. I mean, these are solely dependent upon the skills of the players.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it speaks very much to the healer is someone who's kind of like almost a healer in real life in some areas of their life. So Jules, for you, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if you found in your life there's someone where you give yourself your all, not necessarily just your husband, but you reach out to other people. You give other people something, a part of yourself that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get some through other means.
Well, it's this
Um,
show. I mean,
yeah.
honestly, it's this right now, and the extensions that come off of that. So most definitely, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it is, and Marconin, I think you tend to work on, like, you tend, like you said, you tend to work at more of a distance because you don't prefer the spotlight. You prefer to be the solid backup there,
Yeah.
and and that's a good thing. I mean, tanks are tending to be the leader types, the people who are confident and willing to go and stand in the front lines, the ones that'll be up in in the front of the lines and being like, let's do this, let's do that, let's take charge, let's do all these types of things. But I find it funny when you talk about how the healers are one of the most important parts of a raid. When you get people who are overconfident in a raid or a dungeon situation, they're like, "We got this," and then all of a sudden it's like, "Let's go!" and we run in there and we blow it up, and they've all just melted. And the healer is just unable to keep up because everybody was not geared properly or overconfident or didn't do their right mechanics, and it's like, you're also the one that gets the blame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even in so there's actually funny because I was when Warlords of Draenor came out, I was in a group up in Upper Black Spire, and what was it? This tank, he must have just been brand new. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but the first boss. And the DPS must have been new too to that because I'd already been playing. I was in the beta and all that, so I knew what I'm mechanical. I'm like, let's do this. And so in the first boss, no one went in, turned off everything, and I was like, I'm healing everyone. I'm like, hey, you guys want to go off and then like hit the little things to like kill him? I see you guys are doing like 14 damage.
Yeah.
That took like 2 times, and they're like, why can't you keep us healed? And I was like, because you guys are acting like idiots.
Yeah.
And then the second one with a little what is it, like fire imp or whatever,
Yes.
type of imp type thing, they just I don't know what the hell happened, but they just could not. Tank couldn't keep aggro. DPS stood in shit, and they're like, "Why can't you keep us healed?" And I was like, "Why can't you just not stand and stuff? Why can't you keep aggro?" And after like the third time, they're like, "You suck," and they like kind of throw you out of the party. And I was like, "Thank you for the easy out. Now I don't have a 30-minute debuff."
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
healer, not a miracle worker. Come on, you gotta
Yeah,
not stand in the stupid. Sheesh.
Please
Terrible.
don't stand in stupid is like
Yeah.
the biggest part of it. But that is a true there's a true showing of what the personality types could be when you walk in there and think that you own the place. Go in, think that you can just blow everything up and it's all going to work out just great. And ignore the mechanics and you won't succeed. Doesn't matter how great your healer is or how great your tank is.
Mhm.
And and that's, I think, when you talk about emotional experiences in games, World of Warcraft, of course, is going to rank up there super high, probably for all of us in certain ways. But what I find really interesting about it is that for me, the emotional experiences are regarding other people. Because that's what the MMO experience does. And so the connections of people that I've made and those like gleeful moments when you've killed a boss with a team that you've worked on this boss for weeks, or you've experienced something brand new and you got to tell all your guildies about it. Oh my gosh, did you see how cool this thing is? Did you see this new spell effect? That kind of thing. And in the last 10 to 12 years only is what we've really kind of experienced the MMO, multiplayer or playing with other people. Do you think that video games with other people kind of changes that emotional experience? I mean, of course it does, but how does it change it? Because we've got other people now to deal with, which is like basically why we do the show.
Oh, I would absolutely agree. It does change the complete idea. But we do have, I think if we look at most a good 90% of the video games that come out. Like I'm having difficulty finding even specifically one like from 360, Wii generation that doesn't have some sort of other person component at this
Right.
point.
Right.
So I mean, the games are basically kind of telling us like play with someone.
Hmm.
They're meant to be played there, um, and it's kind of like one of those things. It changes the dynamic completely because you either have someone really good or you have someone really terrible.
Hmm.
There's usually no in between. There's usually never any in between. Um, if there is, you can work with that regardless. That's not a problem. But like someone who's really good, it's an easy breeze. You're kind of like taking a backseat. Someone who's bad, um, you kind of have like two different choices there. One, you can kind of create like a mentorship for them. You're like, all right, try doing this, and when this happening, this is what's going to happen. Read the dungeon journal or something like that. Or you can just basically be like, "You're a fucking noob. What are you doing on here? Stop doing this. What are you doing? Get the hell out of this group." I mean, and then you're pretty much polarizing the entire group because then some are going to side with you and some are going to stay silent. And I'm usually one that stays silent and be like, "I can keep them healed. They're not the problem in my eyes." But it's kind of like one of those things. I think it depends on the dynamic of the people playing, the game being played, and the personalities
Hmm.
that are kind of intertwined.
The thing that I wonder in terms of psychological challenges for people, when you have the opportunity to be in a multiplayer environment, now you're introducing the factor of, especially in first person shooter land, where if you suck, everyone's going to tell you that. It's not the experience of me like sitting in front of Grand Theft Auto 5 and crashing into things and going, "Oh my god, I suck so bad." I'm telling myself that and I'm beating myself up, but now you're in a world where people can tell you exactly how much you suck. And so do you think that the world that we're kind of generating in terms of gamers growing up with these kinds of games is changing how our confidence levels can they become affected by this?
Are you talking like negatively or
Yeah,
positively?
negatively.
Negatively, I would definitely say yes, but there's also a positive side for everything. It's like
Mhm.
so in psychology, there's a paradigm of positive psychology. As you can probably surmise from it, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what positive psychology kind of embellishes or wants you to do. The problem with it that I have, and I tell this to my students as well, is I'm very upfront about it. And you can find types of positive psychology and self-help section in bookstores, things like that. That's where mainly positive psychology is they only want you to look at the positive side. The
Hmm.
problem with I see with that is twofold mainly. One, there's always a negative side. And if we only look to the positive, we turn a blind eye to what can come and bite us in the butt later on.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And that comes out in so many different areas. So many. Working with kids, adults, it's just like, well, I just try to say the positive, and my first response every time is why?
Uh-huh.
Why do you want to stay that way? It's if it's not working for you. Clearly, it's not. You're here. Why do you want to do this route? The second thing overall, and I lost my train of thought on this one.
That's okay. Well, I wanted to ask you a question about do you think that because we're so focused on telling everyone be positive, stay to the positive, think positive, that it doesn't allow the thought process to understand the negative emotions that come, because the I find that emotions come whether you want them to or not.
Hmm.
And so if you don't acknowledge the negative side, is that then just basically just sticking your head in the sand and saying it doesn't exist, it's not here, and it doesn't help? It causes people to have to go to get therapy.
So what you're speaking to is what we would call defense mechanisms.
Okay.
All of psychology, all of it uses it. Defense mechanisms were first created by Freud. He's the one who first saw them, and he was using them in his therapeutic contexts. The newest person to kind of continue on with it is actually this woman right here, Nancy McWilliams. She is the one who pretty much has kept those same ideas and principles, but has expanded the type of defenses a little bit.
Okay.
Now, defenses in general are they're a part of us. We all have them. There's like repression, there's guilt, there's narcissism qualities. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things that go into them. They are part of us, and they are part of our healthy process. When it becomes our only way of coping with the world, or the only way that we can work with the world, that's when it becomes detrimental, because that's when we start to overcompensate in certain areas. That's when we start to see we push away the negative. We only want to see certain parts of it. That's what we call denial or repression. We would say something doesn't exist because of this characteristic, so, things along those lines. That's when it becomes unhealthy, and that's because that's our go-to place. So
Okay.
if you said Tony, you could have done a little bit better on the healing there, I'd have been like, no, I was good. Don't worry about it. Or I could be like, no, Jules, you needed to be better at healing.
Yep. Deflection.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I mean, these are just like all types of things, and they keep our psyche safe, which is great because we all use them. But when they become the only way we cope with the world, that's when it becomes problematic.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because I find that most people in the world, if they don't have a thought process behind it, would go for the deflection technique.
Hmm.
To deflect that to somebody else and say, well, you called me this, I'm going to call you that. Tony, you need to heal better. Well, Jules, you need to pay attention to your own life and not pay attention to mine. Instead
Yeah,
of,
Jules.
yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
And then I just
so,
go, oh,
yeah,
yeah.
like you go, whoa, and Mark Honan is going to sit there and go, I am out of this because I am not going to get involved in this firestorm. And
Sorry, my guy's mic's not working. See you later.
but it takes a lot of maturity and self-awareness to be able to say, you know what, you're right. I do agree that I could do better, and I think I'll take that into consideration. Thank you. And instead of looking at it as a personal affront, as an insult, as a soul crushing moment, and because I think that a lot of people have that up. I see this all the time for people who just fire back when someone makes a comment about them, and it's just this. It's an automatic response. So and it's very, very common in the gaming world. People say things to people all the time. Well, that could have gone better, or that sucked, or that blew, and then people take it personally.
Yeah.
But
Well,
those types of things are also just trying to use humor as a defense to be like, we could have done better there. Let's try it again. Let's lighten the mood. But you
Yeah.
were gonna say something?
yeah.
Go ahead, Mark Honan.
Well, yeah, because the reason why people take it personally is sometimes in the delivery of the comment. If someone says, "Hey, you weren't doing it right," a better way to say it sometimes is like, "Hey, I noticed you were you having a little trouble during phase 2? What are you doing? Are you hitting tranquility when we hit this ability and not that one? Is there anything I can do to help?" And try and pull the answer out of them without it feeling. Try to tell them that they suck without saying they suck, kind of thing. Saying, "Hey, you need to work on this. Do you need any help? Do you need some, offering some help?" And, being a little kinder in the delivery of the line, I think
Yeah.
can sometimes help people in receiving the line,
Oh gosh, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So we're getting to that time where we're getting to the think tank section. Was there anything else that we wanted to talk about related to emotions in video games before we move on? Gentlemen?
Not for me. This has been a really good discussion.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what people in the audience think with video games and the emotions that they've invoked in you. What kind of games did you feel that came from, and talk about your experiences. We may read some of them on the show next week.
Yeah, we'd
So
love to know.
definitely. So thank you for this discussion topic, Tony. It kind of took me into a direction that I hadn't thought about a ton recently, and I thought that was a really good thing. For a moment, we're just going to take a quick break and say hello to our friends at Doghouse Systems. Doghouse is sponsoring the show this evening. They're the makers of the best gaming PCs on the planet. Doghouse has an awesome product. We talk about it every week, and it never changes because it's that way. They not only take care of you as a gamer, they find out what kinds of games you're playing. If you're playing any of the Blizzard games or all of them, they're gonna make sure that those are loaded onto your system when you order. There's lots of options for you and not a lot of extra crap. They make sure that this system is just right for what you need to plug in, ready to go, and start playing, which is super cool. We enjoy just talking with them. The people there, if you ever have a problem, they're always going to take care of you. And their warranties are great. Their product is awesome. Why not? I'd say check them out. DoghouseSystems.com. Enter the code TTT. That's TTT. Get double the memory on your brand new gaming system from Doghouse. We love them. They're helping us run the show tonight. Our stream and Alpha Geek Radio are both run on our Doghouse system tonight. So yay.
So you can tell they're good quality.
Absolutely, because otherwise this show would sound like crap. So go check them out. DoghouseSystems.com. Thank you guys for sponsoring us, and thank you, listeners, for supporting our sponsor. And okay.
I feel like I need to have like a ukulele here.
I know, you should be like sitting at the beach somewhere.
Like someone needs to be just strumming this and pretending to be doing this.
That's going to be your job next time you come on the show. Your ukulele's got to be
one.
Yeah.
All right, it's Think Tank time.
Tauren between options? Let Triple T help you sort it out.
All right. Tony's going to get to stretch his wings on this one because he's got to help us. We need some aid on this one. It's important, and here's the question. Dear Triple T, I'm a longtime listener of your show. I've always appreciated your guys' advice and your thoughts on life and the game. I took all of Mists of Pandaria off due to a death in my family. During that time, I reconnected with the love of my life, and we got married. We've been married for about 1.5 years now. After getting married, I found out that my wife has what's called borderline personality disorder. She's not willing to admit this or get help with it. What this has done to me is I've lived in a verbally abusive and recently physically abusive relationship. As of 4 days ago, she kicked me out of the house. I'm currently staying with a family member. I just walked back into WoW and to the AIE Guild. But with all the abuse that I've gone through, I'm feeling as though I don't have much worth. I'm afraid to talk to anybody in the guild because I don't want to do anything wrong and get yelled at like I do in my everyday personal life. So WoW does not hold what it used to now because I'm scared to talk to anyone. And I'm now alone in the game just like I'm alone in real life. Sadly, I missed your pen pal sign up because I think it would be nice to have someone to talk to. And even if you guys don't read this on the air, I just had to get some of my thoughts out. I appreciate you guys, and I listen to every podcast. It's part of the only thing that keeps me going. Thank you all so much. From Navarro. So Navarro is the AIE Guild on Earthen Ring, which is another mega guild, similar in size to Convert to Raid, which also comes with its own challenges of trying to meet people and connect with them. But he is also dealing with the after effects of being in a relationship with someone with borderline personality disorder. And so Tony, this one has always, when I was going my psychology training, borderline personality was like the toughest one to understand. And so I could really use your help here to help our listeners and us understand it better.
So what was confusing about it?
Just the level of what the actual disorder is, because there's
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, because I have no idea what all entails borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Navarre pretty much sums it up pretty well, unfortunately.
Oh,
So so one of the reasons that it's so pervasive and so big and it's so hurtful is because it's down at the personality level, which is pretty much the core of our center. It's like right before you could say you enter your soul.
Okay.
It's like
gotcha.
it's the step above of that. It's what makes you who you are. Um, Now, with the personality, there's different traits and different things that we kind of embellish here and there, that we pronounce a little bit more. So, on what Nancy McWilliams would say would be completely different than what our DSM would say.
Sure.
Our DSM would basically getting borderline personality disorder is pretty much like a death sentence. So, for her to not want to get treatment, I'm not surprised.
Okay.
It's very common. Same thing with narcissism. They don't really come on in very often because they don't feel like they need it. And there's a narcissistic quality to borderline personality disorder, but it's not inherently bad. It's more, think of them as a child who has not experienced love
Okay.
before.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And when they start feeling love, it makes them anxious. And so the only way that they can get rid of that anxiety is to push people away.
Okay.
And so as soon as they push people away, the anxiety is gone. Now, my question to both of you would be, why did the anxiety exist in the first place?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that, with this person, we don't know anything about
Correct,
this
yeah.
individual at all, except that she has been verbally and physically abusive to our writer. So that ties in very well to the I need to get away from this no matter what.
Right.
I need to push this away from me. But it manifests in so many different ways as well. It's not just, I mean, if you're talking about a child, is it someone that's remaining kind of a child personality level for their entire adult life?
So they're pretty much what we would say they revert to a childlike state, dependent upon the situation around them. They haven't been able to move past that. Overall it's a fear of connecting, of being swallowed up. If they don't have what we would say an ego capable of being able to parcel out what's me, what's you. And so if anything gets too close to it, and if they feel threatened. And so it's for us to blame them and give them a death sentence of borderline personality disorder it's very harsh. It's like telling someone they're schizophrenic.
Yep.
I mean, it's like a death sentence in our area, and it's terrible. And I've worked with it before. They're very difficult, not because of who they are, but because of what's holding them back.
Okay.
So with him, it's going to be like he's walking on eggshells with her, and that's
Yeah.
just because she doesn't know. She may not have the appropriate experience to be loved or know what love actually is. There's usually with the borderline personality disorder, there's hypersexuality, poor relationships, believes that people want to use and abuse her for sexual objectification, things along those lines. And so the way to get rid of that is to push everyone away and then never be close to another person. But if we look past that type of idea, so we've got the borderline personality disorder here, we're now looking at the child of what she's actually saying, and now what she actually needs is someone to be there for her.
Right.
And it may be maybe this Navarre may not be, but she does need someone to know that she can be safe.
Yeah.
Now, you're dealing with something here where someone is constantly telling you, no, 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 get away from me. I don't want your love. I can't handle your love. You need to get away from me. So now we're looking at Navarre's situation of his mentality and his mental state of dealing
Right.
with that emotional breakdown. I mean, it's abuse in that way to be completely disconnected. If he's, if you've got your arms outstretched and you're like, I love you, please come be with me. And that person is like, I love you, but I don't want you. And so how does someone like Navarre deal with that psyche break?
The most important thing for in this situation is for him to work with his own understanding of the situation rather than try to work on her, because if he focuses solely on what can he do to get her back, it's going to wreak havoc upon him.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to just continue eating up. It's going to be like a festering wound inside of him, and it's just going to build and build and build, and it's going to create splits and all sorts of crazy stuff in his psyche, which we obviously don't want to see. But the best thing that I've seen from experience is, even though that they say they don't want it, is you can just let them know, I'm still here. Just let me know if you're here. If you need me, I'm here, and just kind of make sure that they're aware of it. If they choose to do something else, or if they choose to be like, well, even though you're here, I don't want you there, that's okay. I'm still going to be here.
Mm-hmm. And so that really does take a very, very strong personality to stand up to that, especially if you're talking about hypersexuality in someone. Yeah. So let's say that and we don't know any of this, but right. Let's say that she's going out on on one night stands, or she comes home and mm-hmm. She's hooking up randomly and then comes home and he's married to her, and he's got to deal with that side of it. Even if that's not these guys, it could be another couple who might be listening. So sure. What how do you deal with that if it's a situation where people are saying to you, all you're doing is just letting her walk all over you, man? Like, you're just letting her just run your life. I mean, this is the clinical stuff when you say borderline personality, but you see this, like, I've seen this with people all the time, where mm-hmm. where a guy and a woman have a situation like this where she's just like, I'm just gonna go do what I want, and oh baby, I love you, I'm still here, But so how does he? What's the point where they just don't need to be together anymore? Is there a point?
That's more of a personal and a couple decision. So to give an example, there was someone who came in and she said that she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and into the clinic probably early January, and she brought her husband in with her. And they went and saw me, and I asked, why did you want to see me? Because there's 16 clinicians that they can choose from. Well, she said, you're not a woman, and you are the first man I saw, or you're a man on here. And I was like, okay, but I'm not the only man. There's 3 of us there. And she said, well, you're the first one I came to. I was like, okay, so let's make sure we're all on the same page here. I was the first option that you saw, but I may not be the only option that you have. So right there, she's starting to come in and trying to, in a sense, pick apart whatever I could do with her. Mm-hmm. But the real reason that she came in is because they're having a lot of problems in their marriage. The guy's like, I'm pretty much over this. I want to do this one last thing, one last straw. What can I do to try to make this here? We sat there for an hour and a half, and we just talked, and we got to know each other a little bit, and she got really scared. Mm-hmm. Because we were actually having a conversation. We were connecting not on a physical level, but on some sort of an emotional, we would call that the intersubjectivity field that's happening between me and the other person. Is like our psyches are unconsciously meeting in the center, and they're rapping with each other a little bit. And when that's happening, that can be very dangerous for someone if they become somewhat heightened aware to it, such as she appeared to start being. And so she became very frank at some points, and at the end of it, she said, "I'm just going to see if I'll make another appointment, and that's perfectly fine." In my mind, I'm like, "You're not going to make another appointment. This was too much. This was too real for you." And so I was like, "Okay." Even if you want to take a little bit, take your time, make the appointment whenever you feel like you want to come back in. So I left the power in her hands, not demonizing her, saying, if you don't make this appointment, you're not going to get any help, which right. Unfortunately some therapists will do. We have seen that before. which is yes, and that's always why you got to find the therapist that works best for you.
Hmm.
Um, but back onto your question is when is the right time to actually do it? That's a couple decision, and that's when the like with Navarre, he's got to figure out whether if he wants to stay in this. It's a long, long process. It's not. It's at the personality level. It's at our core of existence.
Hmm.
Um, and so I mean, changes to those things they're not easy
Hmm.
to do. They can happen. They can become more aware of certain things that they're doing here and there, and that can be very helpful as well. But the main issue is it's a long process and it can be very hurtful. I mean, if he thinks he's hurting now, he's just scraping the surface
Yeah.
of what it can actually bring up for him.
Yeah.
Feelings of unworthiness, feelings of hopelessness. Oh my gosh, is she ever going to love me again? What if something does happen, hypersexualizing a situation? She goes out and does something with someone else. That's a whole nother anchor into the mixing pot. I mean, it's there's so much complication. So his my suggestion for him is he needs to find what's going to work for him. If he's willing to put in some effort, and kind of be there for her for a little bit, fantastic. It can work out to his benefit. But if he chooses to, this is the time that he needs to protect himself and move on. That's also very appropriate because he has to protect his psyche.
Hmm.
I mean, that's very common. It's kind of like high school, the hot girl going and trying to use the nerds to do their homework. That's
Right.
that's a classic borderline scenario on that one.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's pretty much what he's kind of working with, and it's not that I feel sorry for him or anything like that because it's going to give him a really rich life experience. But I feel for him on a different level, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, in his letter, he says that she's not willing to admit that she has this or get help with it. So, my question is, how does he know that she has this? If she doesn't, if it's something that she went and got, an assessment and they told her this and she said, well, I don't believe you. If that's normal, or if it's simply that someone has, armchair diagnosed her to
hmm
that point too. But what is the diagnosis? How does borderline personality get diagnosed?
So there's the quick way and there's the long way. The long way is what a lot of more the depth psychologists do.
Mm-hmm.
They take their time with it because they don't necessarily want to give that diagnosis out. We don't like to give personality disorders diagnoses out, mainly because they're very hard to deal with. But honestly, they're the most enriching experiences you could ever have as a therapist because they are going to pull you and rip you apart and put you back together just as you're going to do the same back to them. It's such an amazing experience. It's devastating on so many
Yeah.
levels. You need a strong personality in order to work with it and make your way through it. The short way is see someone for 2 or 3 sessions and they see these characteristics, create a patterning of behavior and say, you've got borderline personality disorder, or you've got narcissistic personality disorder, or you've got persistent depressive disorder, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Bipolar is a big one as well, which is debatable if that even exists
Mm-hmm.
in my eyes. So
Man.
So then the diagnosis. What's the treatment normally for someone who has borderline?
So there is evidence-based treatment. So there's a whole bunch of different type of treatment modalities, and the main ones that gets paid by insurance companies, which is how a lot of therapists gets paid, is a what we call an evidence-based therapy.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it's evidence-based is because they do a pre-testing and they do a post-testing, and they can show that there's improvement
Hmm.
at the post-testing of it. So with that, the evidence-based thing is called dialectical behavior therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It's called DBT for short.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the number one thing that's used, and that's not getting at the core personality, that's just making them more aware of slightly of their behaviors. And it can be done in group, it can be done individual, it can be done through worksheets, a whole bunch of different things. And that's the number one thing that is used. But again, I would definitely say that it doesn't get at the personality level. It just gets at the behavior level, which is, we would say, this behavior levels up here, and there's like a few more levels, and then personalities down here. So it's pretty much you're only looking at the top layer of what's kind of driving this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
But
not
it's a
fixing the core
start.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a start though.
Okay. So when we talk about Nevar and his situation where he is feeling like he is afraid to talk to people because he's afraid of getting yelled at and rejected in his personal life, as he does in his personal life. It sounds to me like his confidence has been pretty much shattered.
Oh, yeah.
And so my thoughts in this respect, I mean, what we can do in here, obviously, we know we have listeners who are in the AIE Guild. I have friends that I have kind of putting them on the alert and said, maybe you want to do some kind of a meet and greet and, do something like that out there, which they have been so wonderful and said we would most definitely do that. We can have our pen pal program coming back, which it will be soon, so that he has someone to connect to. But how does someone who has this level of confidence being broken down start dipping their toe back into the water again to feel like he can connect with other people?
So with what's happening with him right now is what we would say in like objects relation, which is one of the orientations that I absolutely love, is his internal object of interaction with other people, not necessarily like physical attraction or like sexuality or things like that. His just basic connection is being shattered, has been shattered, and that is just because of this interaction with his wife. That internalized object of this is how everyone's going to treat me now, it's running rampant upon everywhere in his life. Whereas it's asking friends for help, coworkers, on the guild, things like that. He's afraid he's going to be rejected again. He's going to be told he's worthless. He's going to be abused again or something like that. He's afraid of it, and that's perfectly fine for him to feel that way. The main issue is if he doesn't step out of that and he keeps on going with that internal object and it's not challenged, it's going to continue to wreak havoc and it's going to go worse and worse. And it could go down like the paranoid or paranoia path, which is not necessarily something that can be worked with, but it can go definitely down a difficult pathway, you could say. So, I mean, he needs to know that this object isn't this internalized object of intimate conversation connection isn't going to be just out there with everything else. And so the first step's always the hardest, but you take baby steps. And so for him, it's sending an in-game message to a friend that he used to play with, like, hey, let's go chat, or let's go RP for a little bit or something like that.
Right. You want to run a dungeon together.
Exactly. You start off small, and if someone starts being a dick in a dungeon, tell them to F off, and
Yeah.
who cares? It's a freaking dungeon. It's a virtual world. Who cares?
Yep. Yeah. But
Kick them out, get a new person.
But it's
Yeah.
something that can be pretty soul crushing to someone who has a feeling of low or no self worth. And so I think he is dealing with right now, he just doesn't feel like anything in his life is worthy or treats him worthy. And so that, obviously therapy for himself would be recommended, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. He would probably fit criteria for the DSM of depression, but I would also say, why wouldn't he be depressed under this? I mean, it's a normal functioning of life. He's literally had it. So when you get married, there's as you know, there's a coalescing of the souls in a sense, and so we become one on not just like in marriage and physical realm, but kind of like on the intimate realm as well. I mean, it's like so deep ingrained. Now think about what would happen if that was ripped away all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to feel like part of yourself is gone. And how do I function without this part? It's been there for a year. What am I going to do? So, I mean, it's one of those things where he needs to know that he can survive without that other half, and he needs to know that he needs to protect himself in certain ways, so he can move forward a little bit.
Okay.
And decide whether he wants to stay with the marriage or whether he doesn't. I mean, you can't force someone to stay in it. That's the main issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you kind of an unrelated question of something you said earlier, that you didn't believe that bipolar disorder was truly a
Knew that was
disorder.
going to come back to haunt me.
No, and if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. I'm actually just truly curious
Sure.
about your thoughts on that, because I know that we have listeners who have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and so yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts.
And it probably feels like I'm being a dick, and I really apologize for that. um, the way that I understand personality theory, the way that I work with it is the main ideas behind bipolar. There's bipolar 1, bipolar 2. One's just pure depression. Bipolar, like you're so deep down in depression, it's very hard to do anything. The other one is you have some depression, you have some mania. So you're really hyper sometimes, and you're really just down on others, and it's very rapid cycling. So every few days or so, you switch to the other one. And there's a marketed pattern, is what the DSM would say.
Okay.
My concern with it is if you're fully depressed, why don't you just have major depression disorder or persistent depression disorder, which would call it depressive personality,
Right.
which isn't something that's bad. That just means something that you're going to feel like everything wrong with the world is your fault. And that just takes a different type of way of working with the world and being able to understand that even though I do play a role in this, not everything's my fault. That's like the characteristics of someone saying that is, oh, I'm sorry, that's my bad. Those are types of things that depressive personality is going to say.
Right.
I would just say that that's just stupid to say that even exists. I don't even know why we have a third diagnosis for depression. I mean, that's just stupid in my eye. Technically fourth.
Well, and it isn't bipolar in its essence. Bipolar is two sides. Mania and
Yeah.
depressive. I mean,
So they would say like a bipolar 2 with unipolar depression is what they would call it, which
I'm
is just, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See, exactly. Now, the other one is, yes, the two opposite ends of the pole. My concern is with it is depression basically is when we come to a realization of who we are in this world and how we play a role in it. And yeah, it's going to suck. It's because we come to a realistic truth about ourselves, of our own personal existence in this world. When we come to that existence, it depresses us because it makes us human again. We're not superhumans anymore.
Right.
So when we realize that we can't be at this superhuman level, it's going to naturally depress us. But the issue is that people see that as bad. I see that as good. I see depression as a fortitude, as a good thing to have.
Okay.
Now, when you go into the mania, that's when you're hyper talking. It's pretty much like you're on methamphetamine or coke, is what a lot of people would say.
Right.
My challenge to that is, why shouldn't you get happy about something? Why
Right.
shouldn't you get excited about another something? I have someone who in therapy he was diagnosed with bipolar by a psychiatrist here in Texas. And the reason he was diagnosed with bipolar is because when he was 19, he was meeting with some friends and he was finally connecting with someone. He hasn't had that type of connection with anyone. And he finally met with a group of friends and he got really excited. And he's like, oh my God, I'm bonding with someone, as we kind of looked at what was happening. The psychiatrist saw that as a manic episode.
Oh.
Mind you, he hasn't had them for over a decade or anything like that. And it was one time. And so he got labeled something bipolar. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not good. I was like, you're connecting with someone. Why wouldn't you be happy? It was one of the first times in your life you feel like you belong to someone. You belong to something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't seen someone with true bipolar. There has to have really destructive features. Like life going to hell, work going bad, relationships, school going down. So for me, when it's happening something like that, I'm looking closer at a personality disorder rather than a bipolar.
Okay.
And if we're looking at something at the personality, then we should be looking at something past just medication. Because if we're going to medicate them, then how are we going to work with anything?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So I mean that's kind of my way.
It's very interesting because obviously there are certain gradients and levels of these personality disorders or, any of those. So if you're talking about bipolar and you talk about that there are 2 levels of it, which is like, to me, it seems like the bipolar should really be the, as you say, destructive behaviors. So if you're so manic that you're out, doing a construction project for your deck at 2 a.m. and building an entire deck for, in a day. And then, 48 hours later, you can't get out of bed and you can't go to work and you can't function as a person in normal society. I would say that's pretty drastic differences in behavior.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's destructive.
Sure, that's destructive. But then the question is, how often do you see that?
Right.
I mean,
How
that's
often
why
do you see that?
I have, in my 4.5 years of doing clinical work, I haven't seen someone bipolar yet. And I've done clinical work in all of California and now here in Texas. And I've had people come in with the diagnosis of bipolar, and I've changed it because I don't see it. I see them as functioning in certain situations as normal and becoming depressed or hyper in other ones. And once you start to explain these types of things to people, it changes their perception. It changes the way they view the world. And they're like, that actually makes a lot more sense than what I was told about. And I was like, well, of course it does. It's your life. I'm just telling you a different way of reframing your life experience.
Mm-hmm.
So they're so they're going from instead of swinging the pendulum both ways, it just swings in one direction or the other. That's kind of what I'm getting from it, is like one side is normal, but you'll either get depressed or you'll get manic. You won't have the 2 extremes that, rowboating back and forth.
You can't have them at the same time, but the
Sure.
bipolar one is going straight from one end to the other. Like there's barely any middle time.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's kind of what they discuss as bipolar. But those extremes have to be destructive. Our definition of destructive is so limited and so small these days. It could literally be like you went on a shopping spree for 45 minutes and you bought some stuff where you didn't have the money for. Oh, you have bipolar. It's like, no, you kind of got some excited and you went shopping. That's impulsivity.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So
that's
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about that, and obviously people are going to have opinions and thoughts about that.
Absolutely.
Because it's something that is when it's a clinical term that's the DSM says this. It says this, but so then, and that's what you guys have to then function within. And it's just, there's a kitty. There's another kitty.
There's another guy.
We're like the kitty podcast tonight. Yeah. So I wanted to ask about that. And I think for Navarre, I think for just closing this one out, you've had a lot to deal with. You've had a lot of strain and stress, change in your life, drastic change in your life. And if World of Warcraft is something that you can find some safe haven in, I would definitely recommend it. And I think you're in the right place. In terms of being in a guild the size of AIE, there are amazing people in there, and I think you'll probably wind up finding those people. I might have put out a word or 2 for you. So
yeah, there's some really wonderful people in that guild. Believe me, I've met a good number of them, and they would be happy to talk to you and hang out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and the other thing too is the pen pal program that we ran. We're going to do that again within the next couple weeks. I just have to get my act together because real life kind of took a crazy turn this week with the real life job and all that stuff, kind of making things a little bit hectic. But I promise that I will be doing that again soon, and we can set up signups very, very soon on that. So we would love to hear how things are going for you, Navarre, and I hope that things continue to improve in your personal life, that you get the help that you need, and that your wife can get the help she needs as well. So
absolutely.
If you guys would like to send in questions for the show, you can do so at questions@taurenThinkTank.com. That's our email address. That's where you find us. And that's where you can send all the great stuff that we get on the show that we read. So we're excited. And speaking of great stuff, we get to have some fun with Tony doing some Tell Us One Thing right now.
Oh, yeah.
We read your submissions because reading your mind would just be creepy.
Starting out with the first one. Now that we as players have created a teeny tiny, timey-wimey change in the Azerothian timeline, there's a problem. The novels out on the shelves aren't really canon anymore. Well, sort of, but not really. Maybe? Blizzard has come to you and asked you to help Christy Golden or Richard Knack rewrite a novel chronicling the adventures of our beloved heroes that they've already done. Which one is it? Which story do you breathe new life into, and do you add your own character in as a sidekick? I can definitely see Marconin helping Ronan free Alexstrasza, or Jules counseling Malfurion, Illidan, and Tyrande during the War of the Ancients. Another time when Marconin could travel with Ronan into the past. Just saying. From Rianne from Realm of Books. So
I like that.
where would we write we would write this? I don't even. This is me not knowing the lore again, so I'm gonna be in trouble.
I personally, I don't know about you guys. I probably would like, what's the guy in Crips that you have to fight at the end boss? He's Marad, is it? I'm probably butchering his name.
In which one?
In BC, he was at like the Crips temple or something like that. One of the end guys.
Like Illidan on the Black Temple, or
no, he wasn't a Black Temple. He was a dungeon guy. He was in Washington.
Oh, Moradin.
Marad. Yeah, Marad. He was like the guy where you fight him and then he splits his soul, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I remember that guy now.
I would like to see them do something because he's a good guy right now in Warlords. And so I want to see where he goes and where's that split happen.
Oh, it's Meg Theridon. They're talking about
Meg Theridon. No, that's
No.
Meg Theridon's a raid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to... I will research this real quick.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of who this is. In Burning Crusade. But in any case, so you're going to turn the good guy to the bad side, or the good guy?
I would be interested. I'd be wanting to see how he turned from someone so good to someone so bad. Is Blizzard going to do the usual? Oh, he becomes so perseverating upon one thing that he turns evil and knocks out everything. So he can't take in all of the good anymore, or he can't take in anyone's outside position of the world because he's just so locked into he needs to get this one done. Kind of like how Illidan when his were out.
Yeah, it's actually Exarch Maladar.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Maladar.
Is he in Draenor? I don't know if he's in Draenor or not.
I think
is he in the current expansion?
He is. He's not an Exarch, I don't think. Or if he is, we're all gonna do this now.
I know. I don't even remember. That's too funny.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, he is one of the Exarchs. Yeah. I see him.
Is he
I remember
one of
him
the
now.
council?
He's one of the Council of Exarchs.
He's the council, yeah.
Okay. Man, that is like I didn't even make that connection, so that's good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We are getting timey-wimey. No,
awesome.
it's a good lore lesson.
So what about you, Marconin? What would you do?
Oh man, the first thing I would want to do is go back and help Jaina undo the destruction of Theramore, because that reading that book pissed me off so much, almost through the book. So I wanted to get it's kind of like I want to go back and kill Hitler, except Hitler is Garrosh, but
Yeah, no kidding.
can't do that because then you wouldn't have any reason to. Grandfather paradox. There you go. So what would I do? I would have to do something really fun, but enjoyable. So yeah, I would like to her recommendation of helping Ronan free Alexstrasza. That'd be pretty awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
Anything to either that or just watch history unfold.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would like to be. I'd kind of like to watch the Exodar like. Not really crash, but like see it like flying through the sky in one piece.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah. And another one, I would love to see the shattering from orbit. Like, because I love looking at maps and things, and I'm a big popcorn movie person. I love a good just explosion movie. Saw Jupiter Ascending yesterday, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But just to see that change and just this huge amount of destruction, I would love to see that. I'd love to go way back in time and see the proto Azeroth. So
nice.
Yeah, just anything time travel related and being an observer. I wouldn't want to meddle too much because, I don't want to I don't want to screw up anything, step on a butterfly and then the Pandaren don't evolve and or something like that. Just something
That's
just
awesome.
I'm too afraid I would just disrupt everything in a Titanic way and just
Have you
ugh.
kind of like ever thought about like with Uldar, like if you I just thought about this as I was playing the raid in Wrath. Um,
Mm.
you're just running through someone's gate, siege gate, and you just think of like the gods looking down and be like, "Who the hell are these people? What the
Yeah.
hell do they want? Why do they keep on just knocking on my door? Why can't they just leave me alone?" And you just see them like take down boss by boss, and like, "You're killing my friends, go dude. Of course I'm gonna be pissed when you come to my chamber."
Who let these people
Yeah.
in here?
I've, I've been farming that for Mimron's head every week on like 3 different tunes, and so I just I imagine my Ret Paladin going back in time to Wrath, and you get this whole group of like 25 people trying to do everything, and here comes this dude with a mace, like, "Hi guys," boom, and just blowing through everything, and then and then the Yogg Saron's like, "What?" He's just very no, you just kill him in record time, just blow him away. It's just
Not
kind of funny to think of
again.
it that way, you know?
I'm
I
gonna I'm
like
gonna
that.
pass on this one because I suck at the lore stuff. So you guys did much better than me. I'm gonna pass on
Yeah.
this one.
Nate
Um,
said I'm the time walk. I can be a time walker. It's like a time lord, but less meddly, less meddlesome.
read the next one, Marconin.
All right, this is from our good friend LL says. So, Torn Think Tank, describe your perfect weekend. Who's sharing it with you?
Oh, okay. So my perfect weekend would be someplace like tropical with a beach and the ability to just not have to do anything except eat a lot of great food, sleep, and sit by the water and with a great book and have my husband there with me for just this just that quiet time of just enjoying. I love the ocean. I love it. It's awesome. I miss it. And so that would be the perfect time for me. It's just to be able to just absorb the sun and the ocean and all that type of thing. Be great.
Yeah. What about you, Tony?
My perfect weekend, I would have to. It's really funny that I'm wearing this shirt. So my wife, when our birthdays are 4 days apart, and this
Uh-huh.
is says Bass Lake, and every year we try to go somewhere just for a weekend, just the two of us, just away from everything. We take no computers. We take the only thing we take is cell phone, and that's just because we need cell phones. Where are we going?
Yeah.
Mine would be going back to Bass Lake in California because we were able to rent a chalet, which is able to sleep 8 people all by ourselves for about $100 a night.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it was on a lake, and they had a 5-star restaurant in like the main area. That's you got $30 towards dinner every night, and you got $10 towards like breakfast or lunch, whatever you wanted. And so, I mean, we ate like kings every night, and I mean, we had so much fun. We went zip lining in the redwoods. We went
Oh,
out and
wow.
explored the towns around them. Like it's like the original sites of some of the biggest gold rush areas over there.
Oh wow.
So it was really cool to go in and do all that.
So you do
That
that
is
again.
awesome.
Oh, I'd do that again in a heartbeat. I love that type of
Yes.
stuff.
How about you,
That's
Marconi?
great. Oh, well, the beach is an easy answer because I do love the beach and pretty much exactly what you were. I would do the same thing you would do, Jules, except
Mhm.
I wouldn't have Arcane there. No offense. I'd have my lady with me. But another one is I would love to go visit the Black Hills of South Dakota again. I have some
Oh.
family that live up there near Rapid City,
Uh-huh.
and just it's gorgeous up there. Just the hills, just all you see. There's just giant rock facings with trees out of them. It's very peaceful and just, I don't really, you get that a lot, but down here, but just the beauty of the area. Plus, Mount Rushmore is cool. Crazy Horse, or is it Crazy Horse? Crazy Horse is cool too.
Yeah.
Just the all these little towns winding through the hills, with all their old shops and storefronts and everything. It's very nostalgic for me because I went there. I stayed there in a summer in the '90s,
Nice.
and it's beautiful up there. And I went there several years ago, and I remember like going out at night And we're far enough away from everything civilized where you can just look up and the entire heavens open up for you. And it's
Yeah.
just beautiful. So a nice long weekend up there would be great.
That sounds amazing.
That actually reminds me, like here in Texas, this because there's no mountains around where we are, you go outside in the middle of a field and it's exactly as you just put it.
Big sky
It's
country.
big sky. It's beautiful. There's no lights around. It's quiet. You hear the wind rustle through the trees, and you're just like, I'm home, guys.
Yeah.
It's great, except I'm still in Texas.
I know, I'm in Texas.
I'm in a red state with a lot of closed-minded people.
That's awesome. Well, Anthony Bean, you sent us one too. You asked us something very profound. What did you ask us here?
What is the meaning of life?
Well, do we want to be serious about this or do we want to be goofy?
I don't know. You could probably do both.
I know, right?
Probably.
What's your thoughts? Do you want us to be goofy or serious?
Either or.
Okay.
It's more of a kind of like a breaker up or type thing.
For me, 42. I knew 42 was going to hit the chat room with
I
like
knew 42 eventually was going to come in.
Yeah.
Come through there.
That was my first thought.
Yeah,
42.
mine too.
I mean, there was a quote that I used when it's so trite, but I used this for my high school yearbook, and it's the purpose of life is a life of purpose. And so I've always kind of stuck that one in my brain, is this just making sure that your life had purpose for whatever that means, if it's in a big way, in a small way. To me, the meaning of life is to make sure that you always have a purpose for what you're doing. And if you don't, then it might not be worth doing it. So that's what mine would be. Here, somebody else go than me.
Oh, wait. She's all like anxious and like nervous now because she showed her true colors.
I
Uh-oh.
did.
Let her hold the moment.
I do this too much too. I do this all the time. You
And
try.
you wonder why you're a healer.
What do you think, Mark Conan?
Well, there's two ways you can go about it. Like you said, goofy or the serious. And the first thing that popped into my mind is I'm a big fan of James Taylor, and one of his songs is "The Secret of Life."
Yeah.
And I had to type real fast to pull up the lyrics because in the song he says the secret of life is enjoying the passage of time. We only have a finite amount of time, so we enjoy it. It also says later on he says the secret of love is opening up your heart. So he goes with life and love in tandem, and I think that's really important because in life you only have so much time with only so many people, and you really should, life is love. Love others, love yourself, love life, period. Come into this world and enjoy it as much as you can with the people that you enjoy the most, and keep those people close to you because, we may come into the world by ourselves and leave by ourselves, but by golly, we're going to enjoy it together.
Yeah. I like
So,
that.
Either that or bacon cheeseburgers, one of the two.
Oh, good old bacon cheeseburgers. Oh,
Yeah.
Pizza.
If I'm ever in a situation where I have to have a last meal, it's going to be like a bacon cheeseburger and sweet potato fries, I bet. It's going to be so good. Ugh.
Please don't ever have to have a last meal for anything.
I hope not. I don't think I'm going to do anything to make,
Yeah, we would
I'm just
rather you
saying.
not.
If I'm going out with a bacon cheeseburger in my hand.
Tony, what's the meaning of life?
I kind of like a little mix of everything. I think it's lived to the fullest potential that you can do the best not to harm people or things around you and enjoy yourself without hurting others.
Yeah.
And is kind of the way that I kind of see it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Everybody's talking about what their food is in the chat room.
I know. We have sausage and pepperoni pizza going now.
We are running a bit long tonight, so I think we'll probably save the rest of these for next week, Mark Honan, because we have some
Sure.
feedback to read at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
I've got lots of that. So, because last week's show definitely generated some feedback and thoughts, so we wanted to get to those. So we'll do that right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now bring you Wow, that's a lot of feedback.
Yeah, there is a lot of feedback this week.
It really is.
We're jumping back to shows from when Jerry Lawson was with us, and we're talking about ERP, erotic roleplay, and this feedback came to us regarding that. It says, regarding erotic RP, Second Life is the home of erotic RP. Sex is fun and new sex. You want to have more and lots of it in real life. This is why he wants to not stop, but in time he will ease back. Erotic RP is a safe way to explore fantasies and possible interests such as bondage, group sex, or same-sex encounters. You are indulging in a perfect fantasy. You are the perfect lover always. Brad Paisley has a fun song called Cooler Online. That is true. I grow a foot taller and lose a bunch of weight every time I log in, is one line from the song. I drive a Maserati, I'm a black belt in karate, and I have a set of six-pack abs that will blow your mind. Erotic RP is, I think, just porn for the mind, seductive, and it feels so intense. Just be sure to define your limits and be able to withdraw if the fantasy goes bad to a place you aren't enjoying. Be careful of relationships. They feel intense. You want to meet them in real life. Move to the same area. They may only want a casual online thing, and I've had friends hurt by the assumption that someone is the boyfriend or girlfriend and then find their partner had no such expectations. I've had friends hurt by a manipulative partner that demanded all their time, all their attention. On the plus side, as in all RP, you learn about yourself, you grow and expand your life experiences, improve your writing skills, vocabulary, and typing. You prepare to try out these new skills in the real world with a bit of confidence. Longtime RPer and first-time listener from Dacemin,
I think, maybe.
I'm sorry if I butchered that name too. So, which I tend to do with our listeners. So I think this was a good example from someone who is an RPer who understands the side of ERP from that we didn't. And so,
Definitely.
I think this was a cool way to describe what it was and some good thoughts for our writer from 2 weeks ago. So there we go.
Yeah.
Second one has a couple things from last week's show. Hey, Triple T, I had a few things to share with you about your most recent show. First of all, to you, Jules. I have the same issue with family members that you have. Almost 10 years ago, I sided with my mother along with my sister on an issue that then tore the family apart. Basically, the two brothers exacerbated something that wasn't their business to know into something that stopped them from talking to us since. I have not talked to my brothers in 7 years over this, and I have no plans to do so, especially since our mother fell ill last year and passed away without a call or concern from either of them. You have to stick to your values whether anyone else believes the same thing or not. I feel that I decided 10 years ago was the right choice for me and ultimately shouldn't have been any of my business to begin with much less something that drove a wedge into the family. Secondly, for Katie Derry, I went through a divorce in 2012, an ugly one. Unbeknownst to me, my then wife was exchanging explicit pics and texts with a then guildmate of ours. She and I had our problems to begin with and were on the verge of divorce for some time. I decided over a weekend to take some time away and stayed at my mother's house to let the two of us cool off. Over that weekend, she spread rumors to all of our friends and all of our guildmates that I was cheating on her, and after that, it was my word against hers, and everyone took her side. I literally lost all of my WoW friends and contacts, along with almost all of my real-life friends. What I did have was my closest and most trusted friends. I leaned on them in the upcoming months. It took almost a year, but the truth finally came out about her sexting and the fact that she had been planning this for months. Now I do feel vindicated by the apologies that I've gotten from the real life friends and the invites back to my original guild, even though I already found a new guild. All sitting that she trash talked me for months before we broke up. But I'm also thankful I was able to weed out who my true friends were and still are through this ordeal. And this one's for Anthony. Lastly, and not so heavily, I'm looking forward to next week's show because your guest, Anthony Bean, is down here by me in Texas. You mentioned he teaches at Navarro College, which is in Corsicana, Texas. My sister graduated from there, and I live about 15 minutes up the highway in Ennis, Texas. It will be interesting to hear from someone so close. I would like to also extend a hand to Mr. Bean and say I am not much of a gamer. I only play WoW, but I do have a 14-year-old that lives to play his Xbox One. So if he ever needs someone to ask someone his age some questions about gaming, he can contact me. So keep up the great work. This is one of my favorite podcasts, and I never miss it. P.S. I'm a diehard Packers fan, and even I didn't watch the Super Bowl green and gold till I'm dead and cold. From Brian.
That's a good slogan. That's a good slogan.
I never heard that one, and I'm a Packers fan, but let me just say this. I got a lot of email from you guys talking about my situation with my mother-in-law. A lot of email, some very, very, very pointed emails about how they felt about her, and I appreciated you guys very, very much for your comments. It is an unfortunate situation. We talked about this last week, Tony, and situation with my mother-in-law, and I don't get along, and it kind of came to a head. And our listeners have been hearing the story, and they called her some very, very colorful names. So. But I'm just glad that it's done. We've gotten past that part, and now we know that it's probably not going to continue a relationship. So, and we have one more for our writer Katie Derry from last week. She is the woman who is planning to leave her abusive husband and was concerned about the two of them being in guild together, and how that was going to work out. So, Marconin, if you wouldn't mind reading this one.
Sure thing. Hey guys, I was patrolling tonight and listening to the podcast at around 0400 hours, trying to stay awake. I heard y'all discussing the letter referencing to the writer wanting to leave her husband due to the way he treats her. Jules, I've told you that I work as a police officer and have for over 13 years now. That being said, I have dealt with these situations countless times to the point that after I talk to either party involved, I can tell you exactly what they were going to do. The writer's description of what she is going through is a very serious situation, and she needs to leave ASAP. If it has not happened already, it is coming where he will become physical, especially when he feels that he is starting to lose control of her. He will get physical and put her back into submission and regain control he had. Sorry, it's a long sentence. Let me start that over. He will get physical to the point where to put her back into submission and regain control that he had, and to also teach her that every time she would get brave enough to act on leaving, she would think twice for fear of more abuse from him. Need to let her know that in every city in this union, there are organizations out there to help her leave and even house her until life starts to get back under control. I could also help making contact with local law enforcement if she needed and would help in any way I can. Stress to her that people like her husband, who are massive control freaks, are very dangerous people. I've helped EMS carry women out who have been beaten and damaged even to walk. I sadly have put those white sheets over the faces of females that stated that their husbands or boyfriends would never truly hurt them, or that they love their husband or boyfriend too much to leave. Tell her to forget the game, forget the guild. No matter how close she has become to the people she plays with, unless they are willing to physically get between him and her, she can always make new friends and join other guilds. Hell, I've heard of a great guild called Convert to Rage she might want to check out. But let her know she only has one life. Everything else can be replaced. Your friend, Officer Salmick in North Carolina.
And thank you for that, Salmick. I mean, we only can go by the emails that we receive. We only can go from the details that we're shared with. But this is a great perspective. And, I thought this would be good for us to share with our listeners, something from true experience from an officer who has seen this firsthand. And we did get another email from someone who wrote us and said, you don't know where he's coming from or where she's coming from. She may tell you one side of the story. And I mean,
we can only go off what we get.
Yeah. I mean, we've done this show for 2.5 years, almost getting on to 3 years. We can only go with the information that what we receive, and we're going to give advice based off of that. I can't extrapolate beyond that or try to look at the situation from a side that we don't have evidence of. Just as we were working with Tony in this one, we don't know how this person got diagnosed. We don't know what the situation was that she came to understand it. Is that someone said, I think your wife has this. We have to give advice based off of what we have. And then we'll bring in experts who help us to explain it a little bit more.
Yep.
So it's time for us to give out some slash moos at this point. From Draven Dresden, slash moo to Triple T for mentioning my new podcast, Epic Fail, which starts next week. Hashtag shameless plug. Yeah, okay.
See what he did there.
Draven Dresden.
Flew under the radar.
Yep.
From Mimeth, slash moo to the manager will at the Carmike who gave us tickets to an extra movie when the SpongeBob showing was too full. There were seats for us but spread out and the nieces and nephews. That's a very bad idea. That is pretty cool. They gave you extra tickets. Very cool.
From Haster, slash moo to the X-rated team who takes down Imperator Margok as the show is being recorded.
Oh yeah. Let's see here. Slash moo to the Salad Senate raid team. Even though I was not there in person, I was with you in spirit sharpening my arrows. Grats to you for clearing highball normal.
Highball normal.
Highball normal. That's what it says in the thing. Best raid team out there from Salmic.
Slash moo to the Celestial Vanguard raid team on the Grand Oceanic for being so welcoming to my wife and I when we were looking for a fresh start. We will miss you guys tonight, but are looking forward to smashing more Foundry with you on Wednesday night. From Dash Aminator.
Very cool.
And we have some personal slash moves we wanted to give out. First, I'd like to give one to Daylin. She sent me a lovely scarf. I'm going to show it to the stream. She knit this for me. And it's really pretty. She said, I got this for
gorgeous.
You in the colors of the Cinder Kitten that you love so much. And she wrote me a beautiful letter thanking me for keeping the show going. And I thank her greatly for that. So big slash moo to her. Marconin, did you want to give out yours? I have one more, but I'll wait till at the end.
Oh, yeah, sure. I can go ahead and do my two. First off, I'd like to do a slash moo to Madame Maleva from Darrowmere, who's the one who started that group that got me the modeled Meadow Stomper mount kill.
Nice.
And also a slash moo to Kwai Kane from Etrig. I met him or her in a pre-made group when we were camping Siltide, which is the rare hippo.
Oh, nice.
And it's like a sapphire hippo thing. I was in that group for like 3 hours, and then I left to check Airy Peak and see if it was there. But I think they like delisted it, so I wasn't able to get back in the group. And I was like, crud. Oh well.
Oh no.
The thing has like a 12 to like 30 hour respawn timer, so there was no telling. It's like camping Pound Fist. You got to stay there for the weekend.
I know.
So
you're just like buckling in for the weekend for a mount.
Yeah, I know. Well, Mount Watch 2015. What are you gonna do? But yeah, he or she was in the group, and they whispered me say they really liked the show, and it was cool. Just running into me, and so I was like, it's cool running into you.
That's awesome.
So, that was really cool.
Very cool. And finally, I'd like to give a big slash moo to Todd Whitehead from the Alpha Geek Radio Network. He invited us to join their audio broadcasting network, so now you can get our show live through a mobile audio stream. So if you have your cell phone or your iPad or any tablet device, you can listen there. You can also get it in other places like Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, PS3, and PS Vita. You can go over to tunein.alphageekradio.com to check it out if you're not able to grab us on twitch.tv. So thank you, Alpha Geek Radio. We're really excited to be a part of this now.
We really are.
It's so
awesome.
Cool. So we have a couple of things to talk about from the end, and then we say goodbye. Oh my gosh, this show. We're going on and on and on. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us at torrenthinktank.com. That's where all our streams are. You can rate us on iTunes and Stitcher if you please do so. It helps out the show. We want to give a big thank you for some donations from Michael P. Michael has been very generous to our show since September, and we thank you for your continuing support of the show. It's been amazing how nice he has been. So I just wanted to give him a quick shout out for that. Tony, where can people find you out in the world, and how they can track you down and stalk you and send you messages?
So they can find me in game when I have the chance to log in. I am who am I? I am Flint Strike on Airy Peak. As a 94 Hunter right now, which still hasn't left Shadow Moon, because why leave Shadow Moon? We can level to 94. And Zephyr, the Druid. That is my other one that I have in there.
Nice.
That's in game, but they can also just Google my name, and I think my what do you call it? Blog? Yeah, blog.
Yep.
I think we'll call it a blog. I haven't been blogging very often, but it pops up. I think if you just Google that, and you can find my email, and I'll share it in the thing. Torn
chat
Think
room?
Tank chat room right here.
Okay, good
My
deal.
mind's going. It's been a long day already.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And on Twitter, you can find Tony at Video Game Doc. That's his Twitter handle. You also have Is it Games Researcher? Is that the other one?
Oh yeah, gamer games. Is that what I
I
have it
can't
called
remember.
I just added you, so I need to see what it is.
I always go by Video Game Doc. That's the one that's Anthony's personal account.
Yeah, that's the personal one.
Yep, and so you can find him there as well. And so if anyone is ever looking to take any classes with you, if they're in Texas, so you are part of the psychology department and teaching a couple of different classes every semester.
Here in the Waxahachie campus.
Okay, perfect. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you back again, and thank you so much for all of the insights that you've given us. I don't think we would have been able to quite handle that think tank question as well as we did with you here. So it's been we've been very grateful to have your assistance tonight with that.
Anytime. I'm always
Yes.
happy to help out.
You
I
are-
mean, this is so much fun.
You're the best, man. I appreciate it so
That's awesome.
much. And with that, it's time for us to bring the show home. I'm going to actually make sure that this doesn't blast our ears off. There we go. That's a little low. Do that better. Tauren Think Tank is a proud member of the Signals Media All-Star Network, including two new great shows like Realm Maintenance and Extended Maintenance. Find out more about the other great shows in the network by going to signalsmedia.com.
Voiceovers are done by two uber majors, Arcane and Marconin. You can find us outside of the show on our website, taurenthinktank.com, which has all of our podcasts and information on how to get in touch with us. Don't forget about your Triple T t-shirts. You can find those at slashloot.com. 3 beautiful designs to choose from in a lot of different colors.
Yes. Thank you to all of our patrons. The show will always be free, and your support helps us to do even more. We've had a lot of new patrons sign up in the last couple weeks, and we are so grateful. Thank you, guys. If you would like to become a patron of the show, you can do that at patreon.com/TaurenThinkTank.
You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/TaurenThinkTank. You can also find us on Twitter for the show at Tauren Think Tank. Jules can be found at Jules RPG. Myself, Marconin, can be found at Marconin Wow. Also, you can chat with us on our forums. Give those boards some love, guys. You can find that at forums.signalsmedia.com.
And you can find Anthony Bean at Video Game Doc. That's how you can find
Yes.
him on Twitter too. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, chat room, for being with us tonight, hanging with us every Saturday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. You can find us on our video stream, which is twitch.tv/TaurenThinkTank, or our mobile audio stream at tunein.alphageekradio.com. We love seeing you guys with us. So, Anthony, Tony, you're the best. Thank you for being here tonight and
Yes,
joining our
thank you.
chat room.
Always happy to help out.
Awesome. And we'll be seeing you guys next week. We have a surprise for you guys next week. We made something, and it's coming out next week. So we just wait. I'm so excited.
Are we recording on Sunday next week?
Oh, no. Yes, we are.
Yes.
Thank you. It is
Yes, we are.
Valentine's Day. Thank you. Valentine's Day is Saturday. We will be recording on Sunday at 8 o'clock Central. Thank you, Marconin. I completely forgot.
You got it.
So, for Marconin, for Tony, for Arcane, for our chat room, until next time, /moo, everybody.
/moo.
I'm going to screw this up again. Yes, I am.
Tauren Think Tank. We make your problems less bad.
This podcast is a part of the Signals Media All-Star Network. For more information on this and other fine shows, go to signalsmedia.com. It's okay to stick our stuff in your ears. Really?
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 Yay! We did it!
Sorry, I forgot about the to mention Tony's Twitter on there. I was on autopilot.
That's okay. I was like, I even wrote it in there this time. So
Yeah, no.
it's the end of the
never
show
a
mental
problem.
fatigue that happens. I know. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to keep us at 2 hours. I'm trying to keep us at 2 hours. I know it's hard. I could see
we
it.
could go all day.
We could.
Oh, yeah,
I'm looking at
yeah.
those Tell Us One things, and I'm like, oh crap, we're gonna be going for another 20 minutes if we do this. So, but we try to keep it to 2 if we can. So.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't call you out. I'm like, should I ask him? Should I ask him about the bipolar thing? Because you kind of just, and I'm like, no, I have to ask you the next question that I need to ask you, but I'm going to put the pin in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's understandable. My supervisor, I was trained by someone who doesn't believe it exists either for very similar reasons. And when it was kind of brought to my attention on that level, it kind of was like that kind of actually makes a lot more sense than saying someone just can't manage their own emotional content.
Yeah. Do you feel that, I mean, I in the 2 times that I've spoken to you, and I hope this doesn't come out wrong, I feel like you're somebody who is not afraid to buck the system, to push up against the normal expectations of the industry. Do you find that that's the case?
I'm not afraid to go searching for an answer if what is in front of me doesn't make sense or if I'm not 100% satisfied with the answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe I believe in our DSM as it's a great conceptualization tool for what we have,
Yeah.
but it lacks so much in regard to everything. If you like for our new one that came out last year, if you literally go to all the people who helped create it, they're all on Big Pharma's payroll.
Mm-hmm.
So, technically, basically, all of the pharmacological companies created our diagnoses. So, if they created our diagnoses, do they actually exist, or are they there for now commercialistic purposes?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is kind of one of those things where, is you even saw in there in the group chat that everyone was like, yeah, everyone's got a diagnosis these days. Well, yeah, that's how people get medication now. That's how people do this, how people do that. I mean, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, well, because insurance is required to have some kind of diagnosis in order for you to be, they have to determine, will we pay for treatment? Will we, I've seen it. I saw it firsthand. I'm like, when I was going through my divorce over 10 years ago, I was there just to basically try to help me figure out my life, figure out what to do with my life. And I had a great therapist who said to me, I can't continue to treat you through insurance without giving you a diagnosis. And so I need to come up with a diagnosis that is probably not accurate for you. So because she really wanted me to continue to be able to see her.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's just, that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate
Yeah.
that, because I didn't have anything except the fact that I just couldn't figure out my shit. So
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. And honestly, that's like kind of what most people are, is just like, where do we learn these things? We don't always learn everything how to do. I still need so much learning to do. I don't always handle my shits correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what my wife is like, what the hell are you doing? You were a dick to me today. And I was like, so sorry, I didn't even realize it. It's all about learning, how do we express these things in different ways and different interactions. It takes time.
it does.
Yeah, it
and
does.
we're always learning. Always. Especially about ourselves. I find it's the same thing with, every single week I think I learn something different about myself and how I react to things and how I process things and, what the bad ways that I can process things, and react to things and how I can grow from that. It's just crazy. But I have to say, I mean, this show helps me do a lot of that. Like, we just kind of air that stuff out. The situation for my mother-in-law, just to kind of give you the 30-second version, is that she's just completely disrespectful to me. And she doesn't not want to acknowledge that I have a problem with that. And so I've just said, I'm done. I'm not spending any more time with you unless you're willing to come to the table and discuss this with me. But my father-in-law on the other side is saying, I I want us all to just be a family and pretend like we like each other. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. You know,
Right.
and so this is the polarizing sides of it. And so last week, or the week, yeah, it was last week, they invited me out to dinner. I hadn't seen them in like 8 months, and it was basically like, can we just be a family again? Can we just, we're sorry, okay? But it wasn't my mother-in-law apologizing, it was my father-in-law. And so it just turned into this crap storm of stuff, because I'm like, no, I'm not just okay with this. And so that's where, I was talking about on the show. Of course, it then of course opens it up to everybody else, and everybody has their opinions and their thoughts. But we have an amazing audience, so it's
Absolutely. And I mean, it when someone's not willing to look at themselves, and that's full on projection. I mean, it causes a lot of crap, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's not fair to you or anything like that. But I'm glad you had the support and everything from everyone else.
Yeah, it's amazing to have this audience to talk about these things, and it's, you put yourself out there, but it winds up coming back to you tenfold. And so so yeah, we're in a unique position where we can do that here. But I love talking about these kinds of high level psychological issues, and the things that we talked about this evening. So we'll have to, if I come around another one that has this level, I will certainly be calling on you again if you have the time.
Absolutely. And Jules, you'd be great to go into psychology yourself, at least a master's program for something.
I know, I've thought about it, but I could never do therapy, I don't think.
Why not?
I don't think, because I think I'm too empathetic, strongly empathic, that it kind of absorbs into me and I carry it with me. I don't know if I have that.
That'd be a good life lesson for you then.
I know. One of these days we may think about it, but going back to school, probably not in the cards right now.
Yeah.
I do this show instead. So
yeah, I was going back and thinking. I typed it in the chat, and I didn't say it, but we're talking about our characters personify who we are.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the three main classes I like to play are Mage, Paladin, and Monk, and I think it presents like three different sections of who I am.
Yeah.
Because I do like peace, I do like balance, I like things to be at peace and not and very very relaxed,
zen.
Very zen.
Yep.
Yes, and so I use that, and then I also like fighting. Kind of like how Nate said, he is the balance of he's the pendulum that swings on the opposite side, where he's justice. He's justice against the evil, beating back the evil and being a force for good and light. Yeah. And that's, I always kind of gravitate towards those as well.
It's
and
funny because
I like
Nate
flinging.
In real life, Nate is he's like the fiercely loyal person. And if you meet him, he's that person who will walk over hot coals for the people he cares about, and he's very paladin-like in personality. So yeah, it's very so that thing that you mentioned, Tony, was just very profound for us, because it was like, I think we all kind of thought about it, but never really extended it beyond what we're drawn to and who we are.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of what, like, that one paper that got published early last year is, even though it didn't reach statistical significance, there were personality differences between the people that chose to play as a certain race. And so, I mean, it's out there. I think that with a larger sample of that area, or if I just ran the stats by themselves, it would come up significant itself. But it's just something. It's out there, and I mean, even right now, me and a couple people, we worked on a paper all last year, and we came out with this great stuff. We did this huge high order stat stuff. And what actually ended up showing is different personalities play these video games, such as I was able to point out that one's an introverted personality, which is primarily the ones that played. One's an extroverted personality, which was about 10-15% of the population that we did it on.
Yeah.
And the other one was an ambiversive. So that was one that fluctuates between both.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm waiting on stats from one person to get it back to me so that I can send it out to a journal and we can hopefully get that published and start
cool.
creating an idea of personality and of different ways of looking at it. So like similar like extroversion and introversion, like an extroverted person takes in their energy from social interactions in the real world, bars, parties,
Yep.
clubbing, things like that. They're very extroverted. Introverts need a little bit more me time, and so really kind of if we think about it, like the game, this screen right here forms a barrier for them where they can interact in a safe distance but not have all that energy sucked out of them
Yeah.
all at once. They're not depleted as easily. And so I mean, this is a huge tool, a huge amazing thing for them to learn with.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
Marconan and I are both introverts. You know,
I'm an introvert too. My wife's an extrovert.
yeah, and my husband is an introvert. You know, and so it's kind of funny when we first kind of realized my husband and I, that we were both this way. You know, I crave coming home to my space. You know, it is like I get done with the day. I don't want to deal with anything else. I just want to come home and be in my space with my cats and my husband and my couch and my computer. And, you know, but people say to me all the time, well, you can get on a microphone and you can talk to all these people and you can have, it's like, well, this is okay because there is a barrier. I had to stand up at BlizzCon. I had to stand up in front of 200 people. I was shaking like a leaf because I'm like, the people. I can see all their faces.
Now imagine teaching in front of a bunch of people where you're like, I'm the authority that you learn from. Oh, crap.
Nope.
when half of this stuff is like, when I did personality theories last week, I was like, I'm going to teach you the basics of these areas, but I'm going to go more in depth into the depth area because I think you need to learn that stuff appropriately in order to understand psychology.
Yeah. By the way, the chat room we haven't taken it down yet, so they can still.
Okay. I saw it's still up there, but I didn't know what was happening.
Oh,
and then
yeah. Yeah, we'll take it down in a minute. Usually we just kind of say goodnight to everybody and do our thing.
Yeah.
But this is cool to just kind of have a post discussion. So.
Yeah, I'm home. It's not like I'm doing anything tomorrow except grocery shopping.
Me too.
You know,
That's our Sunday tradition.
Yeah, and I have my extroverted moments too, because I do like, you know, I think I don't know if I am completely introverted. I like my home time, but I also like to go out and socialize. If I, you know, the only thing is that for the past 5 years, I've worked third shift.
Yep.
I've traveled all across the country. One of our guys got fired this week for a technicality, something he didn't do maliciously, but company policy dictated that he had to go. And this is like losing a family member because I spend almost all my year with these guys. This is all we do is work, sleep, and we travel together. You know, we go eat together and everything. And I like to go out and do stuff. It's just I haven't had much of an opportunity to. And most of my friends live hours away. You know, some of them live in Madison, Wisconsin. Some of them, yeah. But
I know you got to come up and visit me some point soon.
I might be able to. I'm sure there's ideas anyway.
I know.
Hello, peace. I was gonna if we could do a get together for the WoW movie coming out, for the Warcraft movie, like everybody meet in Chicago and just go see this movie all at the same place, same time.
Done.
Something like that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Done.
I can fly up there.
You know, Jung believed that with introversion and extroversion, that we all have both components of it, and it really kind of depends on the different circumstances that bring them out. So at some states, you're going to be very introverted, such as Jules when she comes home. Everyone, just back off. Give me my space for a couple minutes. But then if she goes off into some other situation, she's going to be able to be more extroverted in that area. So it's a fluctuation dependent upon the extraneous variables of social.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see me at BlizzCon. You'll see Marconan at BlizzCon, and we're like social butterflies running between groups and saying hi to people and all that stuff. And so... And it's awesome. I love it because that's my comfort area. But you could not put me in a bar situation where I don't know anybody and be comfortable because I don't get that energy from that.
Yeah. Like I've never really been in a situation where if it's a bar situation where I don't know anybody, like I kind of clam up and I just kind of stay to myself because, you know, as long as I've got one person there that I at least know if I go with somebody somewhere, then I'm fine. But I've kind of learned over the last several years, especially working in retail, you learn to where you can start a conversation with somebody. And like I was at Hobby Lobby today getting the little shadow box for my BlizzCon pins. Hey Nate, those BlizzCon pins? I got them all in this little shadow box up here,
Right above my
right
head.
right above my head. And so and the lady I was pulling in, and there was a lady starting to get out of her car. So but I like was like, oh crap, she's about to get in her car, and then she shut her door, and so but I didn't want to be a jerk or not say anything. So I was like, did I park too close to you, or can you get out okay? Just to kind of start a conversation. We talked the whole way into the store,
Oh, nice.
and just to, asked her what she was going there for. She was, what are you getting today? And she's like, well, I was thinking about this. What about you? Oh, are those on sale? I don't know. She's like, yeah, I didn't see the Sunday paper this week, so I have no idea. She's just going into Hobby Lobby to buy something. So.
I love how you slip into the accent, like as you're having
Whenever
a
I'm talking-
conversation with another Southerner.
Well, that's because I'm playing off of I'm trying to reenact theirs, but it's always under the surface. That's the thing,
It's funny when it just drifts. You don't even see it; it just drifts in there. It's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, well, we should probably take the stream down and let everybody head out for the night. So chat room, we will be back on Sunday next week. Sunday at 8:00 Central. It'll be an hour earlier than normal because it's Sunday because it's Valentine's Day and we have plans. So there.
So there.
So
you enjoy your Valentine's Day.
Yes, like totally.
You can totally go to get some food, watch a movie, get some chocolates. Or if you don't like chocolates, you can maybe get a bouquet of broccoli if you like vegetarian or something.
What?
Maybe get some. I don't even know.
What?
I'm like I don't even know.
This
It's
is like a mix between New York, Godfather, and Jersey.
It kind of is. It kind of goes around.
Say goodnight to the beautiful people.
Good night to the beautiful people.
Good night, guys. /boo.
See you next week.